Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS.
So like two teams with that movie, it seems like either people love it or they hate it. Okay, I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
BlackGirlMarvel.
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tyler Makes Films.
It's meant for us to kind of contemplate. Like, I don't think his response to me is completely appropriate. Like, it makes sense that he would react that way.
Allthemoviethings.
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
Lieutenant Commander Ray.
I can watch them. I never find anything wrong with them. I love them every single time I watch them. And this absolutely qualifies on that list.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I probably would have been in love with this movie as well if I had watched it earlier, like when it came out, or maybe right after.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and as always, with me to my left is BlackGirlMarvel, and we have all the movie things with us tonight. And we do not have Tyler Makes Films with us this evening, but he should hopefully be back next week. And we should have the other guest, the other host, I should say, of our show, which is Lieutenant Commander Ray, should be on with us.
Yay!
Hopefully next week. We're gonna cross our fingers. But we'll have no more horror, and that's her aversion. She doesn't do the horror the way that we do.
That's her one caveat. Yeah.
Right. So this evening will be our final kind of delve into spooky season since Halloween is Tuesday. With a shout out.
That's the anniversary of my Twitch stream start. I started on Halloween.
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh.
That's my wedding anniversary. So that's another.
Oh.
Look at us.
And
Anniversaries around.
It's also a good friend of mine's birthday, so shout out to him. Happy birthday Tuesday. But
Happy birthday.
this is
to
our
his
Halloween
friend.
episode. So. That said, we've got some more independent films, but also this week we've branched out into foreign films. We've got action horror, I would call it, Brotherhood of the Wolf, French film from 2001. We've got Feast, which was, I think, the second Project Greenlight film that Miramax did with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck producing, basically giving independent filmmakers a bigger shot at it. Feast is one of those. And it's an interesting one because we might even discuss why we had trouble picking it, but we'll get into that. And then
I got a couple of things.
Well, yeah, and then Train to Busan, which is 2018, 17 Korean film.
16.
Is it 16?
15.
15, 14. It was sometime in the teens.
Yeah, I think it was 16, and Feast was 2005. That's when I graduated high school, so I was like, that's the reason I didn't see this film.
There are a lot of reasons not to see that film, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, and then Train to Busan is, of course, a pretty well-received zombie flick.
Yeah.
We'll get into that as well. But why don't we move over to the main wall, and we will discuss a little bit of news, because we are still sitting with SAG-AFTRA strike. We have no idea if there's going to be an end in sight, so you are going to see a lot of indie and horror film, or independent and foreign films from us for the duration. That's what you're going to get from us.
It's close. There's a lot of rumors going around right now, and but everyone's saying just wait till it's official SAG.
Yeah.
If you don't see the message from SAG, then just sit on it. But there's a lot of chatter going on
that they're very close to inking out.
They're still talking today or tonight, basically. So could hear something tonight, could be tomorrow, or it could all fall apart again. So,
Very true.
Yeah, it's super close.
It's good news, but like you said, I like to avoid rumors and just wait and see what the official people say.
Yeah, because it was like that with the writers' strike, where it's so many people jumped on it too early,
right?
And it's no, they had to throttle back. It's the official WGA stuff hadn't said anything about it, but hours and hours before, I think it may even been a full day before they made any official announcement, people were calling it, so.
So this might be true based on that in a series of events, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah.
The other news, some very sad news in the entertainment industry as of last night.
Yeah.
We lost Matthew Perry at 54 years old,
Sure.
which was, I think, a shocker to all of us because of his age. Had he been 78, I'd been like, oh, that sucks, and upset. But
right.
There's a difference between
lived
somebody who
his full life.
surpasses, right? Whoever surpasses that 77 or whatever, whatever we do,
Right.
changes year to year, but whatever. Late 70s.
I still feel like that's young, but that's just me.
I agree.
I'll be like,
I
oh,
agree.
they was in I'll be like, dang, they was 78. That's wild. They had a good 20
Still had
left.
like- right.
Like, you know.
It's not like Bob
But I get
Barker,
what you're saying, though.
99, where you're like, oh, wow, 99.
Yeah.
Or even like Betty
No,
White. Like when
Betty
Betty
White.
White passed, it was sad, but I was like, she lived a heck of a life,
She was,
man. She had a
and she was
resurgence in her
almost
career.
100 too.
She was too.
about
So was
Like
he.
she was.
100.
Yep,
They were
she
both
was.
just shy. Of
Yeah,
100.
they were. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were so close.
But
They were
99 is
like,
a good
it's
number.
all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like with
I'm
Betty White, she was
practically
she's a comedian, so I felt like she was like, nah, I'm gonna mess with y'all, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do
That
Like, you know.
works.
So-
That follows for her. Anyway, Matthew Perry, of course, I still think people should go out and read his memoir because he has a lot of positive things to say and a good direction for people to follow when it comes to addiction and something he struggled with. And from what everybody's saying, it doesn't sound like this was anything to do with any of that. It was
Right. Yeah,
literally
exactly.
kind of a freak
Yeah.
accident where
It
he
was a freak
had a heart
accident.
attack, maybe, is what I've heard.
Yeah,
and then
possibly.
of course, he would have drowned if he had a mild heart attack and sunk under the water.
Yeah.
Right.
Still
Especially
sad.
if he was like by himself during that time too.
Right.
Like
Right.
if he had a heart attack in that moment. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
a hot
it's-
tub, you wouldn't think anything would.
No, totally. Yeah.
But you think, it makes you think maybe you should always buddy up in those type of scenarios just for the sake of in case, hey, got somebody with
Yeah.
me.
I mean, and it's a possibility because of what his body has been through over the years of like falling
Mhm.
into addiction, getting better, falling back, getting better, falling back. Like his body was just like, I
There's
think
a lot
I'm
on-
done.
Yeah, that's
I think
hard.
I'm, yeah, that could be a lot on his heart. So, man, I love me some Chandler Bing. I love me some, and like, I love Matthew Perry. I watched his career for like a long time. Like,
Could we be
From, like-
any more sad?
Mhm.
but
And
I
that
put
was
in my
really,
thing,
I
like,
mean that genuinely.
yeah,
Like to
that
honor
was
him,
me. No,
'cause that's
I did that.
definitely,
I did that too.
Yeah.
I did that on my Twitter. I was like, could he be more missed? I was like, if you know,
Right.
you know. Like,
I
if you
like
don't know
that.
what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, because he's like, to me, he's like one of those actors that went from TV to film very nicely. Even though I feel like TV was his medium,
Mhm.
because they canceled what's that, Studio 60 under the Sunset Strip too soon for my liking, because that
Yeah,
was a
that was pretty
solid TV show. But I feel like he was, whatever he kind of like put his foot in, he kind of like succeeded in. So like, and that's kind of rare sometimes for an actor.
Especially a
they're like
comedian
hit and miss.
actor. They don't
Yeah.
always get the like leading role when they're
Yeah.
comedians. And he had a stint of leading roles.
Yeah,
as
but
was.
he like I said, like he also has like an endearing quality to him too. Like he's funny, but like when he gets serious, you kind of listen to him, you believe it when he gets serious. Whereas some other comedians, when they get serious, you're like, "Mwah, okay, that right."
You're gonna make a SniDBitS cry. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
no, you're good. I love this little kind of snidbit, if you will. That Matthew Perry was the reason that Bruce Willis even got onto Friends because they made a bet
Yeah.
about I think it was the success of Whole 9 Yards, and it was successful. And which means Bruce was betting against it, but whatever, that's Bruce Willis for you.
Yeah.
And then he did the show because he lost the bet, but he
Yeah.
gave all the money to charity. And on that note, that's other
Oh,
news that I
interesting.
just read is that Bruce is himself having some terrible, terrible problems and on the verge of being completely
Yeah.
nonverbal. And it's just
Yeah.
somebody we saw as like a larger than life action star for my entire life. It's so hard to see that.
Yeah. I love me some Bruce Willis. He probably the reason why I like bald men. Haha.
The reason you like what?
Bald men.
Oh, bald men.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't grow
Yeah.
weird
And
much,
I'm on a
though.
show with two of them. My gosh. My gosh.
If Tyler would just shave his head, right? We would.
I
have-
know,
know.
right?
No.
It'd be a trifecta. I was like,
I think Tyler
But yeah.
works. His hair works for him. I think that if he had a bald head,
Yeah.
it would throw me off for a while. It would work, but it would definitely.
Yeah. It
mess with
takes
me.
some used to.
I'm used to his hair.
can you imagine if Ty just popped in right now and he had a bald head?
Oh man.
Like that would
It-
make
it-
my day, really.
It
But
took
my
me a
night.
while to figure out that Tyler was a bodybuilder. It took me like several TikToks until I saw one where he was like straight posing. Oh, Tyler, you are a ripped individual. But
He
from,
doesn't
like,
look ripped when
from
he's just talking
here
to
up,
you.
he
Like from
just-
here down. Yeah.
he just
he
looks
doesn't.
like a dude.
Like even
Uh-huh.
from like chest level, because like he usually just has on like t-shirts and stuff, and you're just
Right.
kind of like fine, and but
Mhm.
then if he flexes, you're like, huh?
Yeah, like
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had that, but all right.
Not to talk
Good
about
job
you,
on
Tyler,
boy.
when you're not here, but hopefully you check this out.
No, we are.
We are
talking about you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, he needs to work. What I don't even know what these muscles are called, but he needs to work on those so we can tell he's a
Traps.
bodybuilder.
Traps. Okay, I was like
Okay.
lats.
Traps.
What's
So
the
get on-
lats
get
part?
on them.
I was like
Lats
I
are
have
here
those
in
built
your
in
back.
sides.
naturally.
On your
Okay.
back.
Look at Bryce. Bryce is
Well,
smart
I
one out here.
I mean, I was into that in the Navy. I got pretty big in
Chiseled.
the Navy, so yeah.
Did you have the?
Yeah.
Did you have a 6-pack or an 8-pack?
Yeah, I had like a 6-pack kind of thing going on. I'm not trying to like boast or anything, but I was like,
boasting.
when I went into the Navy, I was like 155 pounds.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then when I got up to that, when I was like, it took me a long time to gain weight because my body didn't. I was like
Your body said no.
this little skinny kid, yeah. So it took a lot to gain weight, but I got to like 215,
Whoa.
something like that. But it took a
Wow,
long
man.
time. Yeah, to
I'm
get
sure, but still,
get
that's
that.
from
That's ripped
155 to
compared to
2.
155.
Like,
Yeah, that's-
wow.
That's wild. You and I had
It was just-
opposite experience. I went in struggling to get down to that. So
Yeah.
I call myself a keg rather than a 6-pack.
Nice.
But you know, it is what it is.
Still solid though.
You know?
Kegs are solid.
That's
Cotton
sort of
cakes
true.
are
It
solid,
wiggles
man.
a little. It's okay. We don't need to go down that road too hard. So we do have. I don't know if there's any other news. I don't know of any other movies that are like indie that are big that are coming out soon because there's really no point in talking about them too soon.
Some good talk about Priscilla. Priscilla comes out soon.
That's right. So
Actually seeing that this
Mm-hmm.
coming week, I believe.
nice.
But
And that is of
that's,
course the story of Elvis and Priscilla
so-
Presley.
Yeah, it's A24. Sophia Coppola directed
I think it mainly focuses on Priscilla more than
course.
Elvis.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, I know he's a
yeah,
part
yeah,
of it, but I
it's
think it's
based on-
mainly focused on Priscilla.
It's based on Priscilla's book,
Yeah.
Elvis and Me, and they did an adaptation of it in like the 90s, I think, or 80s, or late 80s, something like that. But it was like a made for TV kind of thing. It wasn't like
I think I remember that.
so.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we'll see like how this one, but it's getting good
A lot of buzz.
positive talk already. So
Well, like
Yeah.
we've talked about before, A24 either is kind of here, not flatline, but not bad, just right here, midline, or they're amazing.
Right.
I haven't found there to be
Mhm.
like really bad A24 films yet. I haven't watched them all,
Yeah.
still working on them, but if I find one, I will tell you. Why don't we get into these flicks while we have them currently on the mind? We kind of had a week break there. MrSniDBitS was down and out, so I'm glad you guys were able to let me have that day. Brian wouldn't have been here anyway because he's out of town.
Yeah.
But that's, so let me see. These movies are Brotherhood of the Wolf. That's the first one. Law, had you seen any of these 3 films before this week?
No.
Okay, because I had seen 2 of them. Brian, was this your first time with Feast?
yeah, first time with Feast.
And then the other 2 you had seen,
Yeah, I'd seen but Train to Busan was like a recent watch, so I've only seen it the one time, but it was like 2 weeks ago I saw it, so
Oh wow, okay.
it was
So
very recent. Yeah,
very. Is that why? Because Brian, you're the one that brought up Train to Busan for us to watch. So
yeah,
is that
yeah.
the
so I was
reason
like-
you were like, "Oh, this is so good, we need to put"? this
yeah, because I had finally saw it, and I was like, oh, let's throw this on there because
Sweet.
Yeah.
I like that. We're going to start with Brotherhood of the Wolf. Why don't we get Law's take on this since she hadn't seen any of it and see what she thinks. Did you watch this on my Vudu or did you find this in the original Flash?
I didn't finish it on your Vudu because I couldn't watch it anymore. This is not a movie for me.
That's fair.
this is not a film for me. It felt like, I don't know, like the voiceovers or like the talking and like the
Did
voice.
you watch the dubbed version?
Whatever version that Snitty had, I watched.
all I
I
could
don't know if
find.
it's
I couldn't.
Well, if it's
find
in
it.
okay.
if it was dubbed, then they're talking English, but the original is French.
it was French,
The
right?
original
Yeah.
French,
So it's dubbed. I didn't like it dubbed. I probably would have watched the French, probably with subtitles.
I was
or
actually going to
something.
say like the dub wasn't too bad in this, in my opinion. Like it sounds like all the actors dubbed their own voices too, though, because
Most of
Yeah,
them
they
did.
did.
is
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Monica Bellucci's in there, but
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
tell it's her
And,
voice
like-
too, like 100%.
yeah. Oh, totally.
Oh yeah. I don't know. This just wasn't for me. I didn't like. It was just a weird setting. I don't know. It was just like a weird setting for a mechanical animal. It was just like I was just. I couldn't focus on it. I was just like, so much is happening, in this film. And then it was like, I was like, when did these two people fall in love with each other? You just met each other. I was just like, what is happening? And then
That's the time.
I was trying to get really I'm not in that time, so that doesn't make sense to me. So it's just not something that I can like get with. She smiled at you and now you're in love. You dreaming about her. I don't know. And I haven't felt like that. And I'm not saying that that's something that couldn't happen to somebody, but I personally haven't experienced that. So to me, I was just kind of like, okay, y'all just met each other, but all right, whatever. Like, love is fleeting, these things. That's fine. I like Mark Dukakis. I'm a big fan of Mark Dukakis. So I was like, I'm gonna stick around for him. But for him to be not an Indian man at all and playing an Indian man, that just felt weird to me when I was watching it. And so like my 2023 sensibility kind of came into this, and I was just kind of like, this is kind of weird. I will say I like the action with him though, because he's really good at doing his own stunts and his own actions and stuff like that. So I liked watching that aspect of it. I didn't finish this film. I read it. I know how it ends. I didn't see how it ends because I just couldn't take it anymore.
That's fair.
This is just, I wasn't on board with this film at all. I felt like it was too long to tell this story. I felt like you were introducing so many characters that I didn't care about. I was just like,
and they introduced them like one after another too, like
one.
They're like, this
I
guy,
couldn't.
this guy, this
I was
guy.
like, I couldn't. I was like, who am I supposed to get attached to?
Then their names are in French.
Yeah. So when they bring up a person, I'm like, who is that? I had to go back to Wikipedia to be like, which actor is that?
Like, aren't they all named that? Like,
no, right? Aren't they all Marquise at this point? Because I don't know. So just, I don't know. This really just wasn't my film, and I felt bad watching it because I was just like, I'm not gonna have much to say about this film, and I feel bad that I couldn't finish it. But I was like, I'm not gonna force myself to finish something that I can't pay attention to. So I was like, I hope they take what I got, because this is all I got at the most part. I will say though, the mystery of the beast was nice. Like, just like you saw the sheer power of it, but somehow it just keeps killing women. I'm like, is this a sexist beast? It's like, okay. Or like the person that was controlling it was, or however it is. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. I'll finish off with that. It wasn't for me.
All right. How about you, Brian? Was this your second viewing?
Yeah, it was my second time, yeah. And like, honestly, I don't remember how I even stumbled upon this movie the first time I watched it. And but it was a long time ago. So it's been a long time, like closer to the time it came out, I would say. And I did see the original French subtitle version the first time. So it was interesting watching this dubbed one, because normally I'm like not a dubbed person either. And so I think that's why I was like kind of surprised by the dub. I was like, oh, it's actually them. It's not like they contracted out a bunch of like totally different actors, that like aren't really that great at doing it. So so it was interesting to see it again with a lot of like different perspectives and everything, like the indigenous element, and then like also like there's it could have been cut down at least 15 minutes just by like not having so much slow motion. Like if you had at least like 15 minutes of slow motion in there, that was like not necessary. Like there's a few scenes that were just like not necessary, that weren't driving the story forward. We're just showing like that this is what happened in France during this time, kind of thing, So but stuff that wasn't like had anything to do with the beast or hunting the beast. And but I still enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much this time around as I did the first time. Just because I was like not expecting, what I saw was like really stylized fighting. It's like set in 1700s France, another thing. And then he's got this Native American. Plus, that's like a whole like a very like cliche Native American. He's like his like sidekick, he's basically Tonto, to his Lone Ranger.
But they tried to clean it up by being like, it's my brother. Yeah. I'm like, but you still be like, go do the stuff I don't want to do. Go do the things, go fix this for me or grab that. Or
he's doing all the fighting too for a lot of it. And then finally, like, and I do like that he kind of like avenges, but still it's almost like, I know the term Phrygian mostly associated with women, and then the protagonist like avenges the woman. But it's almost like he got fridged basically, and he's like, it's like, come on.
He should have survived.
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, something.
Out of anybody that should have survived, he should have survived.
Right.
He was the most skilled person in my book.
Yeah.
But
It would have been interesting had they had Grégoire, but there would have been no reason for it. But if the main character had fought in all those battles against, and again, here's another aspect. I'm assuming that a lot of those people were supposed to be Romani style people or ethnic people, that they were that were the hench people, the people that were with the lion.
Part of that cult or whatever.
Right, and it totally felt like Romani to me as far as the way they were designing the outfits.
Yeah.
They were definitely hitting Eastern European. For and for the lack of a better word would be, well, this is a terrible word, but what is the word? I can't even remember it. I've gone out of my way to try to forget
the G
it.
word.
Yes, which is a disparaging
okay.
word for those folks.
Yeah. Nowadays,
Right. And so there were a lot of in 2001, nobody noticed this. And especially being a French film, even less people noticed it because it didn't.
No,
Right.
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I do think
you're
this
not
is
wrong.
very much a product of it feels like an early 2000s film.
Yeah,
It
it's
well,
the product
the
of
fighting
the
is very
era
Matrix,
that it was in.
right? Absolutely,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Matrix
yeah.
influence
Yeah.
Exactly.
in this movie.
That's kind of like you can probably do a whole dissertation on that, like the Matrix effect on Hollywood,
On
like
cinema.
And it was like an effect like
because
this,
ever since that,
and then it kind of
man.
stopped having an effect. Like they were like,
that
no,
was
that
the,
looks too much like the Matrix. Back
it's
it off.
Yeah.
it's in cartoons, it's
Dude,
everything.
yeah,
like
it's
everybody picked up that.
so much wire work happened after that,
Yeah.
and slow motion stuff.
That was the transition because they were really doing a lot of green screen work in that movie. So the transition of them just being on a motorcycle with dudes in green screen outfits around them, is normal place now. Well, then it wasn't cutting edge, but they were utilizing a whole set in a very different way.
No, totally, yeah.
And I think Cameron
I will say
even
too,
benefited from that.
I will say too, this film is really well done. It still stands up from a quality perspective. Even the creature, I was actually pretty surprised that the creature effects when it's a wide shot, and they did some really kind of cool tricks, to probably for budgetary reasons. There's the one scene where they bring and it's basically a lion, you know what I mean? With a cool head dress kind of thing. But when they bring it in to fight these dogs, you only really see the wide shot of it. It never actually interacts with the dogs physically. We don't see that. But I think also one, it's two, to hide the carnage, but also, or one, to hide the carnage. Two, it's also to it's not as expensive to have them make them and it would look terrible probably.
Right, budget wise,
so,
they were
they had to save it for him climbing down the cliff.
Yeah.
That was, and even that shot looks pretty darn good for being 20 plus years old.
So I was surprised how well that stuff held up. But yeah, the way it looks is great. The costumes are great. The performances are pretty solid for them. I love Vincent Cassel. He's always a bad guy. I mean,
always.
Yeah.
For the most part.
This is
the moment I saw the moment I saw him, I was like, he's the bad guy. I was like, bad guy.
He is it's in his face. There's some character actors. There's nothing you can do to get away from it. I know that Law's seen Buffy a lot of times. So if you look at the guy that plays the second in command vampire in season 1, he's kind of got a big brow, very Cro-Magnon looking face.
He always plays a villain.
He always plays a villain, but he's a Shakespearean actor. The dude studied really a lot.
Yeah.
And yet he still always get typed as this villain.
He plays one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in Charmed.
Right.
Oh.
He
always plays and he plays in Charmed. They brought him back later on. He plays a Titan, so he always plays a.
They brought him back in Buffy too, so he wasn't just the vampire. He also played the monster that was indestructible that she blew up with a rocket launcher. So of course Buffy. For those that don't know, Mark Dacascos is of course the Iron Chef host. I don't know if anybody really thinks about that, but he that's where I remember him from before even. Because that show's been on forever. I swear.
I remember him from Double Dragon back in 1996.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. He played one of the brothers, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
And I've been in love ever since. Yes.
That movie was That's right up there with Three Ninjas and other really bad martial arts
Oh,
movies.
man.
of the
Yeah.
My
80s and
childhood.
90s.
Hey, really? Nope, not really bad. Really good. Stop it.
Really,
Stop it.
really bad.
Stop it.
So like, look,
Stop
I
it.
love Johnny
Stop it.
Mnemonic, and that movie's bad.
Stop
Like,
it.
I'm just saying,
It's
that
really
movie's bad.
Johnny
Yeah.
Mnemonic is amazing. Stop it. Stop
it's
it.
terrible.
Stop
I
it.
love it. Right? That's what
Stop
I
it.
like. It's,
Stop it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
it really is.
I'll fight for Johnny Mnemonic. I'll fight for somebody who's Johnny Mnemonic. It was something, when I
that
first saw that film,
deserved
it
a
was
bigger
something about
world.
it that I
Like,
loved
I don't
it.
know. I think it
Yeah.
deserved a bigger world, a trilogy probably.
I
was
feel like it
hoping-
deserves like a series so it could be fleshed out more.
They could now like do a Prime series or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's probably like it was probably just hindered by the time it was made.
Oh, for
you know,
sure.
Like,
For sure.
yeah.
Sometimes people have such big thoughts and ideas,
yeah, it's just
they're
ahead
like-
of time.
and they're just
Yeah.
ahead of their time. And like, if they would have just came out, if they would have waited like maybe a decade from that time, it would have just
Right.
hit
Well, see-
better, graphics better.
That's why I believe they saw Keanu in that and went, oh, Neo. I think
Yeah.
that they
Oh,
Probably.
that's
easily
good.
saw
I
that.
mean, this. Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's true, but I see it. So,
Right.
That's all that matters.
so this was the second time I saw this film as well, and I couldn't find the French version. I tried really hard. I would have preferred it.
Yeah, I
because
know. I can. Yeah.
At this age, especially, like when I was younger, dubbed, I was like, whatever. I don't
Right.
want to watch foreign films anyway. That was my stupid young self. Now
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I keep watching all these American films? And why do I assume all British, Australian, Canadian, etc. films are all kind of American films anyway? Probably because I can't get
Right.
away from they all speak English. But
I mean, for the
these
most
two
part, when they
films-
have American actors, I'm just like, it's American film. Like,
Right.
even if
But
it's
see,
like
that's the
that,
thing,
I just be
a
like,
ton of our
it's
films
American
have
film.
British actors, and all of our superheroes have been played by British actors at this point. Like
Yeah.
either that or Canadian
Yeah, I know.
actor, like one or the other.
Right,
there
but the
are very
majority of
few-
the
Lot of
people
Canadian.
in the film is American.
Oh, agreed.
so it's
But-
Majority wins. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, a
You're
lot
not
of
wrong.
times too, if it's distributed by an American company, then it's
Right.
it like
it's-
gets
it's
even
an
more confusing
American.
then.
Right, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
That's actually, and we'll get into that with Feast, but we had an interesting, like, we had to kind of look some things
Mm-hmm.
up with that movie to make sure we
Yeah.
weren't breaking rules. Not rules, but the rules we've set for ourselves, I should say. Because
Right.
really, this is an on your honor time.
Yeah.
So this was my second time seeing this film. I wanted to get the French version. I think it would have felt better the second time around in the
Mhm.
French version.
Right.
Everything that you guys
First time
mentioned.
too.
Well, yeah, that would have helped you. But everything you guys mentioned, I totally agree. They're definitely tone deaf things that are
Mhm.
definitely in this film that I'm not sure even the French people would give a shit about, honestly, because their culture is different than ours, and for all they care, they're just like, "What are you talking about? What? No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't care."
And that's
or
a
they
period
would.
piece.
Right? And it's a
Mhm.
period piece.
And I've
Really
never
like
been
that.
a big fan of period pieces. I just
Right.
it's just something about them. Like, it has to be a period piece that really catches me. And if it's nothing that I can like latch on to, I don't care about the period.
Or a
I
period
don't
piece
care.
like about the 80s or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
I
can
was
make
just
those
say,
now.
well, I was just say
I know.
like I'll just use this as a comparison real quick. Killers, what's that? Killers in the Flower Moon
Mhm.
is a period piece. Thoroughly enjoyed it. This
Yeah.
film is a period piece. Didn't enjoy it.
Well, this movie, this
Regardless
is what we
of
were
like
saying.
what it's about, but but
No,
it's
I
like
hear
it
what
just
you're saying.
depends on the period piece, I guess.
Well, this is what we were talking about 2 weeks ago when we were talking about doing this film. Is it's this weird, like, it's definitely got horror elements. Like, there's the creepy
Mhm.
creature, there's the like gore, there's
Mhm.
you know, like it's got a creepy kind of feel to
The
it.
mystery of
Yeah,
it,
and there's,
yeah.
like,
But as
cult
soon
thing,
as
there's, like,
Mhm.
the
Raising
cult
the
thing
Dead.
is a definite like
Yeah.
horror aspect. So it's definitely a horror film, but it's definitely an action film. So like I think it's
Yeah.
action
Oh, yeah, yeah.
horror
Mhm.
period
Mhm.
piece. Like the period piece is almost
Yeah.
like almost shoved aside. Not that it's I mean,
Yeah, it's just a
literally
backdrop,
but it's
really.
still
Honestly, because like
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
would have taken this plot and maybe made it modern, I would have been probably way more into it than it being a period piece.
So a period piece about lions you should watch is the Ghost in the Dark.
The Lion King? Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
there's that one
Ghost
as
in
well.
the
But the Ghost in the Darkness is probably one of the best lion films
Okay.
ever made.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer, and
Val
it's
Kilmer.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Ooh,
film.
Val Kilmer.
But it's a period
Wow.
piece of early 1900s, I believe, and they're building
Yeah.
roads or bridges in Africa.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up, other than we're talking
No, you're
about
fine.
lion movies.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Right.
It made
Um,
sense. Yeah.
I think I didn't get to make this point earlier. I wish that it had been Gregor that had died, so that Manny could have been the one to kick the shit out of
You
everybody
did.
at the end.
You
the
did. You
reason-
kind of trailed off, but you did. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
you did,
reason I
yeah.
wanted is that it felt like Gregor could have kicked the shit out of everybody at any time, and he just kept letting Manny do it instead. But he
Right.
was truly a badass warrior. We see that. Like he doesn't
Oh, yeah,
stick
yeah.
around at
Uh-huh.
the end. Like he shows
Yeah.
he'll F people up. He broke a door with a dude. Like
Yeah.
so like I really like the action flowed all the way through. I just wish maybe they would have flipped the character somehow or in some way.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But again,
I would
being
I would have
1700
liked that if they would have flipped it, because they made a point to say, I mean, mind you, I didn't see the end, so I didn't see when he became a badass, so like that's on me. But but I would have liked it. I would have liked if maybe Manny would have came out, because like when they were doing like target practice on the pumpkins or whatever, they were like, Manny doesn't use guns, and I thought that was like a nice
Mhm.
touch. Like everybody else is like guns, and he's like they're loud and all that kind of stuff, and he had a tomahawk and all that kind of stuff, which I just think that was just like very, very stereotypical. But I was like, all right, I was like, okay, tomahawk. But it would have been nice if his brother would have died, and that would have made him pick up a gun for the first time. Or what I'm saying, it would, to me, would have added a layer to the character.
Mhm.
But I mean, obviously that didn't happen, but I would have thought that would have been cool, a cool aspect to have.
I think the reason they didn't do that, and there is some stuff that you do miss at the end, and it is that Gregor does go and kill the lion, but he does it like gracefully. He does it like with honor.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sweet.
It is, and you
Mhm.
see the lion's eye, and like you can tell it's a lion at this point that's just been tortured by
Right.
Jean-Francois.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's kind of a good point. It's like the creature's not to blame at all. It's just
Right.
been like abused.
He's been abused, yeah.
and like trained to do this. It's really
Mhm.
since it was a baby.
Vincent Gazelle's character. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So
yeah, it's I don't know. It's brutal to think about it from that side, but they don't touch on that enough, in my opinion. They could have sunk their teeth into that. Sorry, trying to make a pilot screen here. They could have sunk their teeth into that plot point a bit more and made me care about the lion character a bit more.
Mhm.
Or cared about anybody a bit more. I didn't really care about anybody. That's just me,
I
though.
liked
That's why I couldn't
the
stay.
relationship that when it was just Manny and Gregor, they were just people and talk about their past times. I enjoyed that
Mhm.
aspect. The demonization of him was not great, but it's also 1780, so like
yeah, I mean, they still refer to him as
demoned.
Indian. And,
You're right. Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely still fits as this like odd film. There isn't really anything quite like
No.
Brotherhood of the Wolf that I've seen.
It is a film of itself, I'll say. It definitely is.
But to go to your point about why
think of anything else about I don't think I could think of anything else that's quite similar to this, honestly.
like you want to think like Pirates of the Caribbean, but no, that doesn't work. It's too lighthearted. It's not dark like this.
Yeah.
From Hell is just dark. There isn't the like action. Like
Right, that's more.
It takes from different things.
Yeah, that's more like mystery too. It's not a lot of action.
Very
in it, but-
mystery. Yeah.
And who ties their arm to their body so that they can make it look creepy on purpose?
I know.
That was a weird plot point.
Well, because the whole thing was like he like lost it. Was his story that he lost it hunting?
Right.
So he had to like play up. Yeah, he had to play that ruse. Because he's really the guy in charge of the creature.
Oh, and he was in love with his sister. Did you get to that point?
Yeah, that was that thing.
I didn't know that was his sister.
Oh yeah.
So the
Like
redhead's his
I didn't know that was his
sister,
sister, but I know it was like that's why the cub didn't like eat her, because she smelled like him.
because of his blood. Yeah.
So she smelled like him. And,
But no, he like
and then I know he raped her.
confesses. Well, I don't.
Yeah, when
It
there's like
is
a confession
implied.
scene.
It's implied.
Yeah.
And he raped her. Yeah.
But that scene, like, it turns a just hard right.
That happens a lot in like period piece films or like medieval time like films or things that take place like way back in the day. Like a guy is always like raping his sister, and it's like you can go find a woman, please. Like, why are you infatuated with your sister to this degree that you like are in love with her?
Because they're locked in a castle together, I guess.
You can't. I don't think you're locked in there. I just think it's weird. It's just,
no, I'm just saying mentality-wise. I'm not saying they're actually locked in there,
but it like
the
lets me
women
know
are
that like. Well, let's be noted like this has to have happened during these times, because I see it too much. I see it too much, not only in film, but like, when you get a little older, you go to the library and you read stuff. Like, it's just like, what was happening? Like, go out into the world. You got all this money and you, why? Just why?
I mean, it wasn't only happening only like during that era either. I mean,
it's happening now.
not even 100 years ago that stuff was happening.
Right, yeah, it's like it's happening now. But I'm just saying, like in these films, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just feel like when people create things, you don't have to. Everything doesn't have to be accurate. Like you don't need certain things in movies. I feel like to push a movie forward. Like, because like what's the movie? Like Hellboy 2. His like Prince Nuada and his sister Nuala they were twins and they were connected, and it seemed it has a tinge of incestuousness, but it's never fully there, right? It just looks like he really cares about her. He really loves her, but it's creepy and it's weird. And I feel like
But
that's
they're
enough.
creepy and weird, so I'm not sure if it's
No, I know, but I feel like that's enough. You don't have to like ensue anything else. Like you don't have to like show anything else. You don't have to do anything else. You could just ensue things, but people love to be like, let's see it.
I don't like the let's see it because let's just
and
see
I don't
it
either.
ruins
I
it
don't
either.
see it.
Time.
You don't
Right.
see any of
Oh
that.
no, I'm not talking about this film in particular, but I'm just saying like
Yeah.
overall, people like they
do
want to see it.
I see your point.
And I'm
Paul.
just kind of like,
there's a lot of let's just show it that just gets shoved down our throats in films instead of letting us fill in the blank, which is usually either more intriguing or more terrifying.
yeah.
Not always. A good storyteller can show it to you and show it to you well, but they usually go into
for sure.
extreme detail in a way that's maybe most people can't write that way. Maybe that's why we get these shit films. I hate to say it, but I always end up finding that I watch a bunch of movies and I've watched thousands of movies, but I still feel like it's like 1 out of 7 that I'm like, that was good. And then there's 6 others that I was like, which means that I'm sifting through lots of shit to get to the movies I love. And that's, that's terrible because there's a lot of people that worked hard on all these films. This is why I go out of my way to try to give credit where credit's due. Even if I don't like a film, it's well shot, it's well made. Like we were talking about, this film looks good. Like it has a crispness to it. The action, even though it's too long, does work for the era, does work for the film.
I'll
if
say
you can speak
aesthetically,
French, go
up.
for it. If you understand French, it's probably great still. Don't watch this dub.
Yeah, I kind of do want to watch it in French. Like I think if I could watch it again, I would watch it how they originally intended it to be watched.
Well, when I bought it on
prefer it
Vudu,
that way.
I figured it would be like, oh, so here's the film, and then you can watch the
And
dub
you can
version.
choose the.
So I went, and there was
Right.
no selection.
And
I
Voodoo
was so
said, nah.
frustrated.
Voodoo said, nah, this is what you get. This is all you get.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with distribution rights. They only have the distribution
True.
rights for the dubbed version, not for the original. French
Yeah.
version. So,
Who knows? YouTube might put it up for me to watch.
the same people that made this film, the same Studio Canal, is the same studio that made Terminator 2, which is kind of funny. And Terminator 2 is technically not struck work, which is really interesting in that way, unless it was distributed by a larger studio, which it might have been. Well, we'd have to figure it out.
Yeah, so distribution is funny because it changes depending on where it's being distributed, when it's being distributed. That's why, like, you see all these like Lionsgate steelbooks being released. They didn't originally distribute those films. They're doing the distribution for the physical media side, so that's why they're able to put their name on it because they bought the rights to do so. It's the same thing with streaming
Or TV rights when they would show
right, or TV. Yeah, so that's why we'll talk about it with Feast. There's a couple different things going on, where it looks like Lionsgate is attached to Feast, but I don't think they were the original distribution company for Feast theatrically. Otherwise, it's considered struck. So it is, though, because Lionsgate's all over that thing. But I think they got the distribution. I don't know this. This is just me guessing, knowing what I know about distribution. But I believe they had the rights to do the streaming distribution, so which is why we see Lionsgate on it. But Miramax may have been a part of it.
I think Miramax was
far
the
as-
original studio that was behind.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. They could have done distribution as well, but I don't know if they only just produced it or if they got a different company to do distribution. So
Everything I read, there are certain Miramax properties that are owned by Paramount, and then the rest are owned by Lantern.
now they are, yeah.
Right. And since
at
they're
the
owned by
time-
Lantern Lantern is independent and not part of
currently.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's why we were able to do Feast, because it's actually being distributed, and it was produced by an independent company and now distributed by an independent company. If it was one of the ones owned by Paramount, we would not be touching it.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky bit, but
Yeah.
They
said Terminator 2 is distributed by TriStar. TriStar is a Sony company, so I don't think
right, and they're also Columbia TriStar combination at one point. So no, we wouldn't have been able to do that in either. But that's neither here nor there. Why don't we go ahead and rate Brotherhood of the Wolf? Law, you can rate it, and we'll just cut it in half. Whatever you cut in half. Not really.
Okay.
Go ahead and
no.
if you don't want to rate it because you haven't finished it, you can do that. Or
no,
I
can rate it because I'm not gonna finish that. I'll give it a 4. I'll never watch this film again.
Okay, so she gives it a 2.
Aesthetically, it still looks nice. Mark Dacascos is amazing to me, and I will say the scene in the what's that? I don't know whose house that was when the cub wouldn't touch her, like in that scene where he finally meets up with her again and they're all excited. I like that scene because it was the guy getting dragged underneath, and you could see the down below and like up, underneath you could see like he was looking down and watching this guy get torn apart. Yeah, through the floor, and then he popped up. I was like, oh, that's nice. I was like, oh, I enjoyed that. Like that was nice. So I'll give it a 4. Give it a 4.
So it would be like a 1 had that not been in the film, I think. Okay.
Probably yes.
Brian,
yes.
What do you give Brotherhood of the Wolf?
I'll give it a 7.
7? It's a solid film. That means you may someday down the road watch this again.
Yeah, maybe.
Depends on who, if somebody's like, oh, what's
another
this Brotherhood of the Wolf?
15 years.
Right.
Like
and
this,
find the French version.
Seems to be a rate right now.
That's not a bad rate for films, though, because you just start to really forget everything about.
I don't know. Some I watch every year, though. So
that's a fair. Can you give me 2 of those? I'm just curious. What are your every year movies?
Every year? Oh, man. Well, When Harry Met Sally. That's every year.
Nice.
And Heat.
Nice.
Nice.
I should have guessed that one.
So right.
No facts. I think we all should have guessed that one.
Films,
we all should have guessed Heat though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm also gonna give it a 7. I think I would have rated this closer to an 8.5 back in 2001.
Yeah.
But as with Feast, the 2000 to 2010 era for me was a very different film era for me as a film viewer. So we'll definitely get into that. So we're going to move on right away to Feast, which we've already discussed a little bit as far as the distribution and all that. But this is an independent film in a sense. It is a story about a bar in the middle of the desert that people are just hanging out at, and all of a sudden people burst through the door and claim that there are monsters coming to kill everyone. That is the entire plot of the film.
Yeah.
There really isn't much more to it than that. Directed by John Gulager. Don't know who that is. Starring. It's an odd cast because most of the people that are like long-term survivors in the film are not famous, while the famous people kind of get knocked off early. Because it has Henry Rollins, who plays a wuss, which is really weird. Then it also had Eric Dane. Eric Dane was the other person I was thinking of from Grey's Anatomy. Which really was like, oh, he's in there. So Law, you hadn't seen this either, but Brian, this was your first time for Feast, so I'd like to get your take on Feast.
Yeah, I remember watching the Project Greenlight about this film, and I will say that show was better than this movie. So it was better watching the making of it.
It's hilarious.
And the whole thing behind it. I almost feel embarrassed for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck that their name is attached to this. Like, it's not good. Like even the creature, I was just like, yeah, it's very much a product of what also makes me think of like how, because the thing is like the filmmakers have to compete to like even be on the show. So it makes me think like how bad were the other like
this was the best
potential,
yeah, like this is the one they went with, like
right.
But also it could be like it's a prime example, like in my mind anyway, or just an experience, but of like the script was probably really good, was probably solid, or for them, and then it just like gets filtered and turns into what you get, which is like, because there's like a saying out there where it's like, you can make a bad film from a really good script, but you can't make a good film from a really bad script. You know what I mean? Like, it just eventually goes downhill, unfiltered. Really, it's a better term. But yeah, something like I think John Gulager, this was like his first film or first like major feature at least, and it kind of shows like maybe he hadn't worked with actors very well or very much. The comedy wasn't really hitting for me. I was like, this is supposed to be funny, but it's really just not. I mean, yeah. So it's there wasn't really a lot of story to it either. It was just like you can definitely see that there's some Sam Raimi kind of like inspiration in there. Like he probably liked Sam Raimi stuff. And even some of the camera work, man, some of the camera work was bugging me too. I was like, what is going on with this camera work? Like there's handheld, which I think some people think handheld means you're like constantly moving the camera like this. No, like handheld just means you're like this slightly,
a little wiggle.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of hovering, maybe some like movement, but you're locked, like you're solid. And this was just like
this wasn't Blair Witch, but it was still
right.
That direction.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It was like, it's supposed to be like a little higher than Blair Witch. For
did
sure,
they have a lighting department?
I don't know. I'd imagine so. I didn't check what the budget was on this, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty low. But
it was like 3 million. It's like 3.2 million.
Man, like, and there's only one location, so they could have done something with it. I don't know. Like some of the lighting didn't really make sense. Just like I started really digging into this movie, like as far as like really picking it apart. Usually like I can find some things that are good about a movie, like you mentioned a second ago. But yeah, not even the camera work was working for me. So
3.2 million with a gross worldwide of 719,105.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I had one caveat other than the distribution thing. Another asterisk, if you will, was like this is a Harvey Weinstein thing. So it's kind of has that going for it.
Too bad too many films have that kind of going for it.
So many films,
right.
Yeah, I remember when, in 2008, 2009, 2010, when I'd see TWC, I'd be like, oh, this might be good because they produce good films. And now I go, oh. And just kind of fast forward.
Like I wonder what the story was there. Like,
right. Yeah, you never know.
Who did he abuse in this one?
Yeah, who did he screw with? Who did he not? It's terrible. Lala, what did you think of Beef?
I didn't know what this was when it started. I will say the thing that I liked when it started was the names that they were giving everybody. I thought that was fun. I was like, oh, this person, they don't get real names. They get like these kind of like code names.
Right.
And then you kind of tell us what happens to their character. I thought that was like pretty nice. I was like, oh, okay, that's different. So that kind of had me
also.
No, for sure. Right. So like I was like, oh, that's cool. I like this aspect. Like this is kind of different. This is kind of, and then it kept going, and I was like, is this supposed to be funny? Like I don't, because like all of these films, I didn't look them up to like. Well, I knew about Train to Busan, but the other two I didn't like look up because I kind of like going in trying to figure out what the genre is myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've made that like my own like little internal game. Like, can I guess the genre? And I was like, is this supposed to be funny? And then when I was like, oh, it's supposed to be like a horror comedy, right? I was like, that's when I kind of like backed off of it being like a serious thing to take serious.
Mm-hmm.
So me not taking it serious, I got through it better. But it also like
through it better. Yeah.
Because it was rough, man. This was rough to get through. You like, what was the thought process in this film? Like I felt like because it was like it kind of gave me Green Room vibes, but in the worst way. Only because it takes place in a central location. It's like literally the opposite of Green Room.
This is like, how not to do a single location.
Exactly. Like this is a single location. Like Green Room did single location so amazing that like I was like, oh, okay, they're at this bar and like, okay, these things are trying to come in. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then you're telling me that these things are trying to like have sex with everybody.
Oh my
and,
god,
like,
yeah, that
they're coughing up like semen and stuff or whatever this stuff. I'm like,
maggots,
what is? I'm like,
actually, there were maggots.
Yeah.
In
I'm
their
like,
vomit.
I'm like, what is? I'm like, what is happening? I was like, I don't like any of this. You got Balthazar Getty. You got
Yeah.
Balthazar Getty. You got
Uh-huh.
Eric Dane. You got Robbie Nawat. You got Jason Mewes. You like I was looking at all these. You got Tretch from Naughty by Nature, and you knocked off all
Yeah.
these people.
Jason was playing
Yeah,
himself
like, right
actually,
away.
which was interesting.
I love that
Jason, yeah,
too.
that was pretty funny.
When his popped up, and I was like, he just himself. I was like, I love
And
that.
I know for me too, I had like this headcanon that like Ben Affleck talked him into doing this whole thing, basically.
Probably.
Just so you can see him
He's
have
like,
his
just
face
be
ripped
yourself.
off.
Yeah.
He's like, you just be
Like,
yourself,
make
and
it
you're gonna
fake.
die. And
Yeah,
Jason
yeah.
probably loved that. He's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll do it. Like,
be in a
he's
horror
like,
movie.
he'll
Cool,
do
I'll
it.
be there for
Like,
like
no,
5
for
days.
sure.
Like, yeah.
I just
So-
didn't like any of the. I didn't like any of this. This
To your
I don't
point,
like
La, I think that during one of the initial meetings, you know, they're getting ready for the film. They've got the whiteboard up and they put up 2 words and they're like, these are the 2 words for the whole film: gratuity, gross. And they just
went with it.
Yeah.
Because
those
this
were
was
the
just
2
like,
words that they
I don't
used.
have a problem with like horror comedy because people have been
No,
known
totally,
to do it
yeah.
to do it nicely, to
Mhm.
do it like in a way that you're like, oh, this is gross, but that was hilarious.
Tucker and
I was
Dale.
like, and they come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
and they just didn't hit the mark that they were looking for. Mind you, there's like 4 of these, like 3 or 4 of these.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I know,
I'm going to veto this if anybody brings it up. Like,
I have
let's
seen
watch
I've seen
all
all
of these-
3. I've seen all
Oh my
Well,
god.
I'm
Do they
vetoing.
get worse? Like I don't understand.
They have to. They have to.
Yeah, because they don't have a foundation. Like
they have
No,
to.
it picks up
I-
right where the truck, where the car takes
oh
off.
really?
It picks
Oh
up
my
right
god, dude.
I'm vetoing the whole shebang.
Yeah, the
I'm not
whole-
watching
there. These
anything
critters
this
start
man.
taking over the town, and it's
I'm not watching-
Jeez,
100 of
really?
them. Yeah.
I'm not watching anything that this man creates again. Like I am okay with it because this was so bad to me. This was like there was nothing redeeming or good about this film to me. It was like gratuity for gratuity's sake, and it was weird for weird's sake. Like there was no story, there was no plot really. They were
Mhm.
like where did these creatures come
Didn't
from?
you
Even if
know
we
that
didn't-
since the mom talked to her son, you're supposed to now care about
Exactly.
both of their
Yeah,
lives?
Yeah, there's nothing
know
was built
what?
up there. Like
No.
you're like
That was another
nothing
thing,
was
too,
built
like,
up.
I didn't care about anybody.
Anybody.
And even the
You know?
kid,
Everybody
who you're
could've
like, you're
died.
supposed to care
Yeah.
about the kid, but they killed
Didn't
him
care.
way too
Nope.
fast
I'm like,
for you
oh.
to care.
I'm like,
Didn't
did he
care.
actually
You're just
die?
like,
I'm like,
oh.
what?
They killed the kid.
Didn't
Oh,
care.
okay.
Yeah.
I
I'm like, okay.
agree.
I was
Like
just-
normally, if
Move
a
on.
kid dies in a movie, you're like, holy shit, because
Yeah.
they've established
I will
that
say the
time.
only thing that I kind of liked, and this is me digging real hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
The only thing I kind of liked was the fact that the guy was slowly
turning into a
Oh
nightmare.
yeah.
He was like slowly decomposing.
Right.
And I like that. I don't know. It was something about that I like. It was like reverse zombie in a way. It was like he was just like,
Does it look
like-
okay? Does it look okay?
Does it look okay?
Maggots, like coming out.
and
of
then
his
the
face
guy's
hole.
like, then Balthazar is like, you should be a nurse. And I was just kind of like, I was just kind of like, y'all really trying, but
I
it's
know.
not.
In
And
the
then
midst of
I was
all
like,
this.
Balthazar Getty is actually a really good actor, but he keeps
Yeah.
doing these like dumb little
Yeah.
movies that's
know.
really tanking the star that he once had. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, and I get it. You do what you do because you gotta get some money. Because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be doing some stupid movies in my career too, so I can have something to eat for the next day. But on this film.
How did I
There was
not?
nothing about this.
How did I not
Yeah.
realize that guy was Judah Friedlander? How did I? He's a comedian.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
my
yeah.
brain just
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
picked up on that.
No,
Yeah.
because it's a stupid film. That's why you didn't notice.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry to
so
call it that, but it is.
This is all opinions, and that's the whole
It
point.
is.
It's very
Sorry.
subjective. So I saw this film in
Jeez.
2005 in theaters
Mhm.
when it came out.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
god, you
And
paid for
so
this?
I did. I paid for
Oh
it, and
my
of course, I was watching Project Greenlight. I had seen the previous season, so
Yeah.
I was like paying attention. And anything Matt Damon still pretty much does, I'm still like, let me check it out. Not as much Ben Affleck, but definitely Matt.
I was about to say not really Ben Affleck.
No, not that I wouldn't.
That
But like for the longest time, I hated Ben Affleck, and I don't know. It's just something about him bugged me until I realized that he was all his characters and not him. He's not really the guy.
Because he
and then he started
mostly plays
directing.
douchebags.
He
Yeah,
does.
He mostly
And
plays
he-
douchebags
like Dazed
in
and
his
Confused
movies.
was my first experience with him and he
Yeah.
plays the ultimate douchebag in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But then he started directing, and I was like, oh shit, this dude's like
He's a really good
got some
director.
talent. Like,
Mhm.
not only can he
Yeah.
act, but he can direct himself as well, which is
Yeah.
not easy.
And I'm gonna say he can barely do that a little bit. Like, no offense to Ben Affleck at all, and it's gonna sound offensive, but I'm not a really big fan of his acting. To me, he's an actor in a sense where, like, if it hits, it hits really well.
Right.
And if
See,
it doesn't,
Good Will Hunting,
like,
I think he's done a really good job there.
to me, my favorite
Argo,
my
I
favorite
think he
Ben
does a good
Affleck
job.
movie is The Accountant. I love him in that movie, and I think it's because he
Mm.
barely speaks. But but I mean, that could be it. But I
It's not
think he
Daredevil?
like. That's number 2. That's the second one. That I like him in. But I think when he plays like a very subtle character, when he plays subtle characters, I think he nails those.
Like Paycheck.
But if he has to be like, if he has to have personality, I'm
Sorry.
like, he kind of ruined it. I don't think he's.
I'm just naming all his worst films. I apologize.
Yes, I know.
But see,
you're
like, but he
fine.
like does Jersey
His worst
Girl, and I love him in
Hypnotic
Jersey
wasn't
Girl.
great
Like,
either.
I love Jersey Girl. I love him and Carlin's like back and forth in that movie.
But I think he's a
Yeah.
really good director. Though. I think he's A+ director. I think he's
Agreed.
a solid director. I think he should do that more.
You guys should see The Way Back if you haven't seen The Way Back. He's really great in that.
Not the
actually.
way back, but the way back.
Yeah, it's called The Way Back.
Okay, because we did the
Yeah.
way back on here, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make
Yeah.
sure
Mhm.
different films. So when I saw this in 05, this was the height of my horror. Give me whatever you can give me.
Mm-hmm.
The worse the better kind of era, and I was
Right.
living in that. It was 2005, so it is that like era of absolute gratuity in almost every sense. Even the like spoof movies were just spoofing spoofs. Like they were getting really
Mhm.
bad. So it was just kind of that movie era. And so I loved the gratuity. I loved the jizz of it all and the ridiculousness of it all.
They definitely had that.
And they did. And it's weird because I still am more grossed out by the Lighthouse's jizzy situation than I am this movie's. But this still
Like,
has
it's
a
more
lot.
real.
This still
That
has a
looked like
lot.
art. That looked like art compared to this. That was artistic jizz.
But it was
compared to this.
disturbing to me. This was just gross.
Start
Like,
the jizz counter,
you
guys.
know.
We're
I know,
back
right?
on
We
it
should
again.
have one right up there at the corner.
If Ray's here, she like, oh my gosh, you
Man, these
guys.
guys never know
Here
how
we
to
go.
shut up about it. This is my fault this time, Ray. I apologize. But these movies really they're kind of a topic in these films. Like it's not a side thing
Yeah.
or a joke or something.
I am.
In this
She
one
is.
though, because the gestation period of these creatures is stunning.
Oh my god!
No,
Right.
immediate.
It was like, yeah, like
Immediate.
whoa.
Boom, right, baby.
I said what?
yeah.
Now I was like, I'm not looking for 9 months, but we could do a couple of hours or something.
Right.
I was
No.
like, this is
Make it
And this is
believable.
why
and then the
next
kid,
movie's
and then the
ridiculous
kid
because-
comes out just immediately like banging the mouth of this woman, and I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like,
Just like
horny.
why?
Where did these
Like,
horny monsters come from? Like, what
Yeah,
are
I'm
we
like,
doing?
why?
They're desert
Like,
monsters.
why?
Didn't you
Like,
know?
why?
Desert monsters
Like-
are horny by default.
Like, is that all they do? Oh, that's what the monsters and Tremors was trying to do. I get it now. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
Now there's a series of gross desert movies that are great. Like
I love Tremors.
a
It's one my
couple of them.
favorites.
They kind of get bad, but whatever. At least they get bad after 2. This one, it's bad one.
It's
Yeah.
bad at the beginning.
Didn't waste its
It's-
time.
But I
It
would
was
have
like, you know what?
this.
We're gonna be bad. We're gonna be
Yeah.
really bad.
I would have rated
Lean
this like a
into it.
7+ back in 05 because of just how it was like. Yes, it hit all those terrible marks. Yes, go for it.
Oh man.
Mhm.
Now I don't feel the same about horror movies as I did then. I want way more intrigue and I want way less shove it in my face. Like, and this movie does. the opposite.
Pun intended. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
definitely what that monster did to that lady. It's
Well, yeah,
literally.
there's a lot of like face crushing and
And think about it though. That's what the older monster was trying to do to the dude in the room until she got him out. Like he came out like dick first. He was like charging like dick
Yeah.
first.
monster dick.
And that's why I got caught in the door. Like that's why I got caught in the
Yeah.
door because he was like dick first. And I was just like,
somebody.
I think
built
that was my,
right.
that
Somebody
was
had to,
I
like,
know,
Made
right?
that.
made that.
And they had to make it to be like kind of animatronic and move for
And wiggle a bit, you know. It was
like
very,
flail about. I was like, this
flail.
is
There's probably
not-
multiple versions of it too, because there's one where they had to step on it, so that's a different
Yep.
one
From the one
moving
that was
one.
There's
moving
7 of
one.
these
Yeah.
on the table.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so here's a
It
question
was-
because
ugh.
in all the
my
places,
gosh.
you know, in America, we have who is picking these movies? I picked Feast, I'll be honest. But it was because,
I was picking these movies.
you know, so anyway, the thing that blows me away is movies like this where they had to have, you know, 12 penises sitting on a
Mhm.
table. How do you avoid sexual harassment problems in a workplace where there's 12 penises?
Everybody signed a contract. They knew
Well,
they
I
was getting
mean,
into.
yeah, that stuff still applies. Like you
Yeah.
just don't be, an
Don't be
idiot.
weird about it.
Right. You
Yeah.
can't like grab it and be
Plus-
shaking it in somebody's face.
Well, plus the thing is on set too, like every department is very protective of its department. Like you don't touch your other people's
Yeah.
stuff. You don't go from like, if you're a grip, you don't go around to the props department and start messing around with props. Like no.
Yeah.
Especially when there's weapons on set. Like
That's very true.
so everyone's very protective. So the only thing would be like to worry within
that
Within
department.
this-
So
right,
the props
within the
department's
department.
like,
If they're being-
at
yeah,
each
yeah.
other or whatever.
Yeah.
I
so-
just can't see that being in a prop. Somebody had to wiggle that in somebody's face. I just can't
right.
imagine that.
But I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
if
sure,
if
but-
I'm in the props department and they're like, all right, you guys, we got like 15 dicks to make.
Yeah, we got all
like-
these monster dicks.
Like we got these, you got these 15 monster dicks to make. I mean, that will happen. If you know the people that you're working with, that's going to happen.
Right.
But I feel like if you take that outside that room, that's probably where the biggest issue is. Because like nobody knows what you're doing unless you're in that environment doing it with them. If I'm like taking my time to like carve this out, make sure this good and
Mhm.
liquid latex and all the different types of stuff that I'm using, whatever I'm using. That's like a weird bonding. It's like trauma bonding in a sense. Like
Trauma
so it's just
bond.
like
I like that.
so like if I'm sleep
We had to
deprived
make 15
and I'm
dicks for this movie.
you feel me and I'm messing with you, we're fine. We're
Right.
fine. You know what I mean? Like we're good. Anybody outside of this will think we're weird.
I still,
Yeah.
And
I don't
so
know.
we keep it at home.
I
you
still
know?
feel
Keep
like
it
the
at home.
director's chasing the producer around with it. I don't know. It just.
Right.
And that's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
But the thing is this whole movie is that like the whole point is that for the whole like that's
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
film.
It's just
Also, the director,
A
his
series
whole
of
family,
medicine.
was in this movie.
oh yeah. Uh-huh.
His whole family was in this movie.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why you have
Like
to do it
his-
that way.
His daddy was in here, his brother was in it, his wife was in it. Like he had his whole family in this movie, which
Yeah.
probably saved the 3.2 million budget, but didn't help at all. Yeah. This movie was weird. I did like the design of the creatures, even though I've seen a Doctor Who character that looks like similar to that. Like
Yeah.
when he ripped the thing off, like the teeth that come out, and there's a Doctor Who character with like the skin that's kind of like rolled up, and so I've seen a Doctor Who character look like that. But I will say I kind of like the design of the character, well, the grown character, because that child
Like,
looked,
The
Yeah.
design once they're out of the kind of
once they're out of
They have
the
the animal stuff off of them. Like
that design was kind of like, I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool design, and it was kind of like, it was very gross and like
All mouth.
Yeah.
it felt like it
Mouth
had
and teeth.
texture and like it was kind of like wet and bloody and that, like I liked
Mhm.
that part of it.
the slimy
Just
factor
not like the
in this
ex-
movie is high.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm
liquid.
not mad at that. I
Oh.
like the stuff where like, they went through the window and pulled the dude underneath pulled her husband because he dead. He pulled him out of the thing and she like pulled his ring off, and I was just like, girl,
Oh yeah.
all right.
There's a lot of jewelry coming off people in this movie. It seemed to happen a lot
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
Where are we at? We got wow. When there's no
Yeah.
news and no pre-review, man, this show is just
Yeah.
doesn't have to be as
We're
long.
just
I
burning
guess.
through it.
We
I
really
mean,
are.
also it's only three of us.
Well, yeah,
So,
and this was only an hour and a half film where the plot was said in a sentence, so it's kind of hard
Yeah.
to. We can talk about the
True.
special effects and the gratuity, and really, it's as bad as a comedy.
That's it.
Like, what else are you
That's
going to
it.
talk about?
Honestly, I would have preferred it if they went more in the comedy route than the horror route. Because honestly, if they would have made the jokes land a little bit better, or if people had better delivery, because nobody in this is a comedic actor. Like not a
Save
except for Judah,
Judah
except for
is,
Judah
yeah,
Free,
but-
like, right.
Yeah.
But
Well,
even him,
Jamie-
even his jokes were kind of like,
Yeah, and that's the thing too, where like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying too about where that falls a lot of times on the director, because like maybe he was like fine with like another thing too with like the schedule was like quick, like they're trying to
Yeah.
burn through this movie, so he's not like really
worried
humming
about
and
that.
hawing
He's just
about,
like, yeah.
each take, what I mean, he's not doing Fincher takes,
And it shows.
Right.
And it
Yeah, yeah,
shows. Because if that's the case, then knock out the comedy and let it just be a pure like weird
Yeah,
like
you got
horror film.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose.
You know,
where
you
you
got to
wanna,
pick
like,
and choose
really
where you want to go, where you want to really
focus and-
focus. Because if you're going to make this horror comedy, I need to be grossed out just as much as I need to laugh.
Yeah.
And I didn't laugh at any of these really basic, like a kid, like my nephew could think of some of these jokes. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Like my nephew probably says this stuff just in his room playing with
Mhm.
Legos, and it's
Yeah,
funnier
very
coming from
sophomore
him
humor.
than it is from this movie. And as
Mhm.
somebody that like I look at myself as a comedic actress because I do a lot of comedy, I do stand up and all that kind of stuff. I was just kind of like, wow, we could have worked a little harder on the
Yeah.
comedy, because maybe that would have made up for the fact that it was like a stupid plot.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe.
think I laughed really once, like genuinely.
Me neither.
Laughed.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's just like
See,
Yeah.
when I first saw it, I laughed when the monsters started doing gross stuff.
that
made me
just like
giggle.
made my like I had to like pull my eyes from the back of my head. Like I had to pull them back forward.
They
It was
rolled
like,
so hard.
What? Yeah, I was just like, oh, I might have to go to the hospital. But
Yeah. The first
yeah,
time
What
that
brings you
happened,
in? I watched Feast and my eyes rolled so
yeah,
far
so now
back in
my eyes are
head.
stuck.
he's like, get in the feast line because there's
But yeah.
plenty of them. I'm pretty sure.
Like, what is
No,
with that movie?
the first time I saw that, I was just kind of like, my face was like,
Yeah, it's like
I was like, what is
Really?
this? I was like, I was so annoyed. Like I was like, what is this? And I don't like being annoyed at movies. I love
no,
films.
I know.
I love
yeah, like
I love to
honestly like
enjoy
it.
them. I love finding like
Mhm.
weird little nuances. Like even if it's a weird film, like call a
Yeah.
spade a spade. Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead is a weird film. It is a weird film. But it pulls you in. It's just something intriguing about
works,
the
like,
about the act. It
yeah.
works. Even with the budget that they had, it being like college students,
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah, even if you see the hose, it still works.
It still
Yeah, like,
works.
no,
Even
yeah,
if
yeah,
you
like,
know that it's oatmeal, even if you know, it still works. And in this one, I was just like, I really wanted to like go through the screen. I wanted to She-Hulk it and be like you just break the fourth wall and be like, so what are we doing, guys? Like, what are
Yeah.
we? What
You
are we?
guys
Did we
made the
choose?
decisions.
Like,
yeah.
what? Are we
People
Just
always talk
like,
about
yeah.
superpowers. So that's the superpowers I always wish I had.
Yeah.
It's the ticket from the last action.
Oh, nice.
That'd be a
Break
great
fourth wall.
superpower. Did you ever see that movie, La? Last Action
movie?
Hero?
Last Action
Yeah.
Hero?
Okay,
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Cool.
yeah.
good.
I feel like it's underrated.
He's like,
got-
you got a lot of hate. I don't have to disown you now.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite Schwarzenegger films. Like, without
That's
a
pretty
doubt.
Yeah. I grew up in the Schwarzenegger era when he was like anything he touched, people were like golden and stuff like that. So, and I saw Last Action Hero, so yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Apparently, Schwarzenegger was supposed to be the original Judge Dredd in the '90s version.
That's hilarious. No gracias. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's like a whole story behind that Judge Dredd, how much Stallone like interfered really, and it's like that's why it's not good. Like
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the last time a studio ever gave him full
It's
control.
like
yeah,
Even
It's
with
like-
the Expendables, they didn't give him full control.
because it was just like, okay,
maybe they
relax.
should have with those ones, but
We know you wrote Rocky, but it's like,
Right, we get
breathe,
it.
sir. We have an
Right. You
idea
wrote
for what we
Rocky
have
in the
to
late '70s.
It's like, calm down. See, honestly, Stallone is the original Rock. Rock is like a caricature. The Rock is like a caricature of like Stallone because they both want such creative control, but it's just like, no, you can get a little bit, but you can't get the whole shebang because you
it
kind of don't
doesn't
know what you're
always
doing.
work. Like
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing.
like
Like-
I think with Demolition Man, he had a lot of like influence, but it like that worked for that movie. You know what I mean? Like, plus like Wesley Snipes was so good in that movie. I mean, like he really like he's such a good bad guy.
Don't forget Sandy B.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like yeah, you can't for that one. Yeah, they should just let the director do what he's what he needed to do.
It feels
but
like
I feel like
there's a lot
Oh,
of
go
weird
ahead.
decisions with that movie.
I was gonna say, it feels
Go
like
ahead,
Schwarzenegger was always trying to learn more about acting, learn more about being
Yeah.
behind the camera and in front of the camera, so that when he was with a director like Cameron, he could. Because if you watch him from Terminator to True Lies, like the dude, it's like leaps and bounds different.
Totally.
While
Oh yeah, yeah.
while Stallone just feels the same kind of always, like
Mhm.
even now.
Well,
I'm
like,
a big
Schwarzenegger talks
I'm a
about
big
that.
proponent on like collaboration. You don't give somebody full control, but you give them collaborative like control. Like let's collab and see. Let me see your ideas, and if we can incorporate them because they actually work, then let's go for it. But you don't get your way just because you're the lead. And I don't.
Right.
I've never been a fan of that.
Brian, you were gonna say something.
Oh well, like The thing with like Schwarzenegger, he's always talked about, which is why he's worked with Cameron so many times, but he likes to work with the same directors. But then at the same time, he's always sought out basically really good directors, which is why he's worked with Ivan Reitman, and because he sought that out, like, and that was part of his whole like trying to be better. But I don't think Stallone did that as much. It was more about like it almost felt like, I mean, they were very like, like really competitive with each other to the point of like sabotaging each other's careers.
Yeah. Schwarzenegger told Stallone to throw Mama from the Train.
Yeah.
And Stallone was like, no, I don't really think so. He's like, no, it'd be great for your career.
Yeah.
And it was not great for his career.
Totally sabotaged.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but they're like buddies now. But yeah, I think they both had very different like outlooks on how they chose what films to do. So
I think Schwarzenegger wanted to do what he looked at would be good films, while Stallone was looking for a paycheck half the time. And I think there might have been a difference.
Right.
Yeah. If he had the passion that he had with Rocky, with the other things he did, I think it would have been.
Yeah.
Would have been better for him. Not that he didn't do more good things. There are still some good Stallone films out there, but there's a reason why. Well, I guess Schwarzenegger came back and Mr. Phil. Well,
I mean, to me, honestly, they're the. This is gonna sound so weird, but this is the way my brain works. To me, they are the Chris Brown and Drake of movies, in the sense that like they work better together than they do separate.
I don't know them.
Oh, were you speaking? I was like, oh, I didn't hear anything. I just saw your lips moving.
Because I spoke it's like under my breath. Chris Brown and Drake, I know who they are, but I don't understand.
Because in the music industry, Chris Brown and Drake were like, people have been wanting them to like collaborate, but for some reason they were always like against each other. They never wanted to do anything together, and it always seemed like they had a rivalry. Then you throw in like Rihanna, it is a rivalry. To me, it seemed like the same with like Schwarzenegger and Stallone, because it's like y'all can make more money together if y'all just do stuff together. Because like, look at the Expendable films. Like especially at the height of their careers, when they both were doing something, if they would have came together instead of trying to knocking each other back, their trajectory probably would have been way even better than it is right now. Even though like they're both living lives and got their families, like they're fine.
They're both doing just
fine. They're doing A-okay. But I'm just saying that, like, instead of wasting all that time, y'all was like trying to one up the other person. Y'all could have just been working together, or just ignoring each other altogether.
Maybe that one upping each other is what got us what we got. There's that element of it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would argue that too. Like, that's what drove each other to like be better every time.
But I feel like you can still achieve that if you were buddies, because like, if you're doing good, I'm gonna lift you up, and I feel like you could still achieve the same result. But again, they are doing great. So like it's a moot point at this point. They're fine, but I just feel like you can, the pursuit helped them be creative in their own way. And that's pretty much, what you guys are saying too. But I'm just like, I just feel like, you can do way more collaborative than you can sometimes separate. And being like, and having that anger and having that like mentality of I have to be better than you. No, I have to be better than you. Like, just let's both be great and just lift each other up along.
This reminds me of Sheldon Cooper. Don't ask me why, but there's a moment where Leonard says, "But you can catch more flies with something sweet." It's like,
Sheldon said you can catch more flies with honey, and
honey, and Sheldon but you can catch even more flies with shit, basically. So
that's what he said.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
So
like, he was
confused. It depends on the person. I think the way this plays out. I think that knowing both Stallone and Schwarzenegger's kind of attitude since then, because there's been a lot of interviews, they both were like, "Fuck you" to people that got in their way. Both of them. Yeah. So like, to have another person who was basically always competing for the same roles. I probably would have hated him too. Like, if I were.
They both were like muscle heads who couldn't act, but somehow still got roles, and so they were like, "How dare you try to take my shine?" And so I get it.
Oh, come on! Haven't you seen Red Heat? I'm sorry, I'm gonna move past that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. So
that's early Schwarzenegger when he still had the very thick Austrian accent.
No.
Yeah, you should watch. Have you ever seen Pumping Iron?
I'm like Rocky and keep going. Like, I don't know anything before that.
Have you seen Pumping Iron?
Rocky or something like that?
No, these are Schwarzenegger. So Red Heat was
Pumping Iron.
Pumping Iron.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
It's a documentary.
It's a documentary about Schwarzenegger becoming Mr. Universe, essentially.
I've heard of that. Never seen it. Yeah.
That'll give you some insight into a young Arnold Schwarzenegger's mind, because he was an interesting dude back then. He's not the same dude. The fact that guy in Pumping Iron became a governor of a state is mind blowing, because he had a very different mentality then. You should check it out.
Did he have a Drago mentality? If he dies, he dies type of mentality.
He kind of, in a sense, yeah. He was like very cutthroat about getting to the top.
I would
of Mr.
think
Universe,
so. He was like he was a bodybuilder. He probably did steroids. They don't tell him where that brain was at the time.
Did you guys watch? Did you watch that documentary series about him?
Which one?
It was on Netflix. It was the recent one, but it's really great. He's like very open about that stuff. Like he's like, yeah, we did do steroids. Yeah, but and like he talked about like we would do these steroids like right before like competition and prep, and then you'd go off of them, so it's not like they were like hooked on them or anything, but still he was like, and even all the other like later kind of controversial stuff with like his personal life too, he's like he's very candid about it. Like it's actually really, I was actually really surprised, because you would think like
he would keep all that quiet.
Yeah, but no, it's actually
I love
really,
that. I'm gonna have to check that. I'll probably check that one out.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing too. Like Stallone now has his own.
Yeah, his documentary coming out. Yeah. So they're still competing in a very nice way.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and like Stallone was in his, and Schwarzenegger is in Stallone.
I mean, at this point, they're inseparable. They are the two action stars from the 1980s. There's no getting around that. So this should tell you guys how much we really loved the movie Feast. We spent 15 minutes on Schwarzenegger and Stallone, which are far more interesting than the creature in Feast. Let's rate Feast real quick, since in order to get to our rating, you have to go through that whole little segment. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Brian, you were first. Go ahead. What do you rate?
Yeah. Man, what is it worse than Repo?
Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Repo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Repo's the bar.
I don't remember what it's probably worse than Repo. I mean, I really, I don't know, because I really hate.
At least Repo had some catchy tunes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it, and like I could appreciate it more now because of like the comedy about of how much I don't like it. But yeah, it's probably like a 3 for me.
That's low for you.
It's pretty low.
You don't usually go into below 5s, really. Just because you like try to find redeeming qualities and things.
I couldn't, like, even the camera work. Like I said, like I was just like, usually cinematography is like the one thing that really,
that draws
really
you back.
Like, yeah, people are really solid with that. But like, man, it's like the lighting didn't make sense. I just like, because the lighting would be like off in spots. You'd be like, where is that light? There's no reason for that light to be there, because there's nothing motivating it. You know what I mean? It's just there.
I feel like it was a lot of red. I feel like they put a lot of red overlay on stuff, or I don't mind the color. Lot of red of stuff. That was just too much for me. I was like, why is everything red in here? I understand this is a bar, but I've been in bars.
Yeah, there's a lot of orange and like
it
was really like overly warm. But yeah, there's just and then the shaky cam. I feel like sometimes they did that to hide certain things.
Same thing with the lighting. The dark lighting was to show less of what they didn't want you to see. Like,
and like the camera work too was like, oh, we really can't show much of this creature or this element, so we really want to just like shake it up.
Which makes no sense. But whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
How about you, Law? What do you rate this atrocity?
I'm really trying to be like, is it worse than Brotherhood of the Wolf, or is it on the same trajectory as it? I mean, I just feel like
creature
it's the same.
In Brotherhood of the Wolf at least had some endearing quality.
Right.
Yeah, I just feel like it's the same in the sense that it was kind of trash to me. So like it's the same in different ways, if that makes sense. Like, I know that sounds like very oxymoronish, but still.
No.
A Feast. I'm gonna have to be with Bri on this. I guess I'll have to give Brotherhood of the Wolf the higher number, so it'll have to be a 3 for me.
So like I said,
because I had more. I had like two. No, I'm sorry. I had like 2 things that I liked about Brotherhood of the Wolf, I didn't like anything about Beast. So it has to be ranked lower. So 3. I'm gonna say a 3. So yeah.
So for myself, like I said, I would have rated Beast in the 7-8 realm because I would have enjoyed it then. Rewatching it, I found myself bored. I found myself having to turn the brightness up just to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I found myself just going, okay, well, that's gross. I'm not really into that anymore. I mean, I am. I think the abstract gross is still funny, and like, you know, shock value to other people when I'm grossing them out is funny, but not watching somebody else's jizz creature go nuts. Oh, that kind of worked. That was almost Tyler-esque. I miss his puns. He brings this like levity to these puns that I can't bring to them. So at this point, I thought long and hard about this one. It's a 4. 4.
Okay, there you go.
Somewhere in the 4.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Let's move on to the final film, the film that we do want to talk about, because I actually am interested in talking about
this. Is like Lawrence of Arabia compared to.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is Schindler's List.
So Train to Busan, of course, you said 20. We actually never settled on what year this was in because
it's 2016.
It is 16.
I have it up right now.
I thought we were
joking. 2016, yeah.
But I wasn't sure. So, starring Gong Yoo. I don't know any of these. No, I know Ma
Gilgamesh.
Dong-suk.
Gilgamesh. He was Gilgamesh in this. He just he had the low budget ones on, like the low budget things. I was like, he's Gilgamesh. I was like, this is great. So,
awesome. I love his character. Like
he should have survived. I wish he would have lived.
Man, that was.
But I get he couldn't.
Yeah. So
that was.
For me, I Korean horror can go one of two ways. Either I'm very bored with it, or I'm intrigued as hell. And I found, because Parasite came out, and I was like, oh, that's going to be horror, and it's not. Like there are some elements of it, but it's not a horror film. But the name kind of to me insinuates that it is. And of course, I saw The Host, Tale of Two Sisters, other Korean horror, but this one. A little bit of a slow go to start. It was fine. It kind of gives you the characters, but then I liked the way that the characters reacted to the situation, which is not something you normally see in a horror film. Normally you see characters go, well, what do we do? And then everybody freaks out. And what's nice is we see those characters, but they're not our characters. They're the side characters where they kind of hide. Yeah. Right. Our characters know what the hell they're doing, even if they just kind of have to pick up on it as they go. Opening the doors or not opening the doors or closing it without having to worry, the spraying the fire extinguisher to block the windows, even the lady that like poured water on it and put some newspapers up. So I was like, dude, you don't see this in American horror films because these characters are smart. Like they know how to stop this as best they can. And that's something that continues through the whole film, is that people don't make bad mistakes. It's just that hard to get through this. That makes this intriguing. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. And I've heard people talk about it like crazy. And I didn't know it was a zombie film until my wife told me. Because even just, Train to Busan, it doesn't really show zombies on the cover or anything. It's just
it's just them running
trains. I was like, oh, it's a virus film. Okay, that's true.
Or it's a heist film, like
or they're or it's a terrorist film. I don't know. So I found myself really enjoying this. La, what did you think of Train to Busan?
I love this film. I thought it was great. I do agree, slow burn, but you got to establish characters. This was once it got to it, and that's what I think I love about like foreign films or just like Korean films in particular, is like they do have a build up to them, and then once they get to it, it's like you're in it and you're in it until the end, and I feel like that's a great ride to be on. This film messed me up, man. I was weeping. Like I was crying. Like I was like weeping. Like the tears wouldn't stop. I was like, my God. I was like, at one point I was like, you know what? I'll just literally, that's what I needed to do. But like at one point I was like, just cry, girls. Just go ahead and cry. You just here by yourself. Can't nobody see you. Just go ahead and cry. But I thought it was really good. I like the buildup of characters. I like the realistic elements of like people being supremely selfish in moments like this, because that's that's literally what
that's
America.
real.
That's real. That's
You know,
real
like,
life.
yeah,
Period.
like, people are gonna be like
there
that
are going to be people
in
that
that
care,
situation.
and there are going to be people
Just
that are
looking
super
out
selfish, that
for-
are just looking out for themselves in this situation, and they
Oh.
always get their comeuppance. If movies teach you anything, be nice, and if you die by being
Right.
nice, then so be it. But if you're not nice, you go get your comeuppance, baby. But I
This is
like
heartbreaking.
Snitty said, I do like the elements of, like, I know in a lot of American films, a lot of like writers, directors, however you want to slice it, tell people what they're doing. They're like, now we got to go do this, like very anime style, like telling you what they're doing. But it was like, you could see on the lead actor, you could see that, like, when certain things would happen to the zombies, he would pick up on it. And I like that aspect. And I like that he wasn't like, oh, if you make noise, then they will, like, he just did things, and people caught on to him being like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like the scene where, like, when they're in the tunnel and they all realize that, like, they can't see in the dark, and they use that to their advantage, you know, like, I would have liked a little bit more of that going forward. Like, I would have liked it that in every train that they went to, they would have covered up the door with something. I would have liked that, because there's so much crap around, because, like, it's just so much stuff. Like, even if it's other people's blood, I mean, I'm sorry, I would have liked a little bit more like that. But the fact that that was even in it, I was like, let's go. And, like, people were actually listening to each other. Like, when he was like, I don't think they know how to work it. And it's like, oh, they, you know, not seeing us. And when the girl put the water up there and she put the newspaper, I like that people listened to each other. Like, it was like active listening. For, you know,
there was that one train where, like, everyone was against them for some reason. I was like, and they're only listening to that one.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm like, you only listen to him because he's the loudest person in the room. And I was just like, y'all can all see him with your eyes. Did any of you notice that the moment somebody gets bit, they get changed instantly?
Didn't watch those people do that, though.
I'm like,
they were
what's
stuck
happening
in that car the whole time. They never really saw people transform, so they had no proof of
I guess
power when it would happen. Like, they didn't see that it was within 3 or whatever it was.
I don't know. Still,
I don't know. Are you
sure?
They were total
assholes, but
are you sure? Yeah. Because that one girl was in that room as well, and she saw it as well. But one third was the people that, like, had to get out and get back on. Like, they seen these things happen. Like, these weren't people that was just, like, stuck on the train the entire time. Like, I think they did see, because they were all mixed people. They weren't people that just didn't see anything. Well, they saw these things.
They were the ones,
and the fact that they covered that girl's mouth, I wanted everybody to die. I wanted everybody to die. When they covered that girl's mouth, I wanted everybody to die. I was like, and I love when they were like, go to the vestibule. I was like, y'all about to die. I said, y'all about to die, because you told all of them to go. Y'all about to die. But go ahead, Snitty. What did you?
No, I was going to say, from what I can tell, it's those people were all pushed to the front of the train when this all occurred, and then some of the groups were broken up in the middle, and it wasn't as clear. That was the part about the movie that was unclear. Is they didn't give us the train numbers or the car numbers well enough for me to be like, oh, okay, between car 9 and car 12, there's 3 groups of zombies, and we need to deal with them. But that's what it looked like, is that our characters were at the back of the train and had to work their way to the front of the train. It felt very Snowpiercer to me in a lot of ways.
Right, but that wasn't. But that wasn't Korean. But it wasn't. Yeah, actually, also Korean. But no, because I'm trying to. Now I got to go back and watch it, because, like, it wasn't the same train.
They didn't change trains until they got to just outside Busan, and even then, that's where the whole bad thing goes down.
Because
the whole thing was on one train.
Because no, it was all on one train. But didn't they, like, get off that train just to get back on it when they were like getting chased by? So, like,
and they all got back on at different places as well. So
I know. I just assumed.
Part.
I just assumed that everybody has seen it in some type of way, because if you were out walking, because the people that got off the train and they were walking off and the guy tried to take his daughter to the east side, and then everybody just started getting attacked by the horde of zombies. They had to run back to the train. So, like, I don't think that's where my brain was. I'm like, I don't think they just stayed on that train. Like, I think everybody that was alive on that train got off to see, because they were like, military safety was supposed to be there. And then they started, and the military already got changed. And then they all had to run back to the trains, but they all got split up. So some people was in the front and some people was in the back.
And then all the zombies they had originally trapped.
And then all the zombies they had originally trapped in the bag. Right. And they had to, like, get their way through. So, like, all those people have already seen zombies and been a part of this and knew what they look like. But they just
I just
had
don't know
to
if they
find...
saw like a bite and then how
The
long it
transformation
took.
fully
Like, that's
happened.
what I'm saying.
Right. No, I get what you're saying, but but part of me was just like, y'all can look at him and tell that he's not even a zombie. Like, you could tell that he's not even changing. You could like, but to me, it was one of those things where it's like, when you're afraid, 9 times out of 10, if you're an afraid person, you listen to the loudest person in the room who speaks as though they have confidence. And that was that COO. And I was waiting for him to die. I said, I need him to die in a way that's going to give me some satisfaction. Is what I need.
I love it.
Because I couldn't stand him the entire time. But this film was like great. This was the one. I watched this last. This was a palate cleanser. Okay, because I needed it.
I agree with you, Brian. You brought up this film. You were the one that wanted to bring this film to the Real Study, and you saw it just a few weeks ago. What did you think?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I was like, it was one of those things where like, why did I wait so long to see it?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because it's always been one of those ones that people have recommended. You know, and like I think part of it too was like I knew it was a zombie film, so I was like, zombie film. You kind of assume
Yeah, I feel
all
you.
the others. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but that's one of the things I loved. Like they really made it their own. They like kind of played with those zombie expectations and then kind of like made them their own. You know, like the whole thing of like if they have to have like visual sight of you in order to like want to attack.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was like such a cool element to play with too, in just like so many different plot devices they could use with that. You know, like they did. You know, so that was a really great element. Plus how fast they changed. Like Jesus, like
My
it
gosh,
was like
yeah.
quick. Like yeah.
They were not brain-driven zombies. They were
Right, yeah.
kill-driven zombies.
Yeah. They just went. Yeah,
Mhm.
they weren't. Yeah, they were just killing you, and and they were like fast. Also, like that whole element of them like kind of like connecting together, like when they're like
on the train,
drugged behind the train. Like whoa,
that was nuts. That was nuts.
Yeah,
That was
like,
a
oh
nuts
my
scene.
god,
And they were like literally slowing the train down because of the weight,
Which
and I was just
didn't
like
that actually. That bothered me
no.
because trains carry a shit ton of weight. So the
Oh,
idea
yeah,
that this
no,
one
totally.
engine
But,
was slowed down
I
by
mean,
50 people, I'm like,
yeah,
that's
but anyway,
problematic at best.
yeah.
I don't know. I still liked it. This is a world of zombies. Why are we talking about physics and
I
like
know.
weight and stuff? Like, come on,
And,
come on,
Because they
Stadia.
tried to follow it.
Come on,
Go
And
ahead,
something
come on.
that Law mentioned, like so the whole element of like this is just filmmaking in general, but it's exposition versus subtext. So like exposition is when, you know, they're literally a character's literally telling you in the story. It's like they almost might as well turn to the camera and be like,
Mhm.
oh, but
This is what's about to
we
happen.
figured
next.
this part out, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so like where like subtext is where they don't need, the audience figures it out with the character, you know.
Yeah.
And that can be hard to do sometimes, but yeah, and like the movie just had a lot of heart to it too, you know, where it's just like and like I wasn't expecting that, you know, it kind of just hits you all of a sudden, and like it you kind of think it's going there. Oh, also too, like that one CEO that we all hate, like I thought he was gonna get I kept like thinking he was gonna get, I was like, oh, it's gonna be here, he's gonna get it here. It's like, oh no, he's still alive, how's that? And then I'm like, oh, he's gonna get it here.
Yeah,
like, damn it, he's still alive.
They were baiting me the
Like,
entire
yeah,
time. I was like,
get rid of this
he
dude.
was
Kill
the
him.
reason for so many more deaths.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just him,
There needed
like,
to be. Yep.
bursting out and leaving the door open, like just
Yeah.
simple shit he didn't need to do.
No,
Oh,
when he
man.
left the door, listen, when
Oh
he
my
went
God.
through the door and he saw it and he ran and he left the
Oh
door
my God.
open, I said, you
Yeah.
are the reason why. So you're the reason why the old lady let them in.
Yeah.
You're the reason.
Yep.
Because if you would have just let them in, she would have
Yeah.
came in with them.
Right.
I was like, he gotta die. He gotta die. I was like, he gotta die.
But they
That-
gave,
that's such a
they gave
great, like,
humanity.
that's-
even.
Yeah.
That's what so like tells you like how great the filmmaking was and the storytelling was with this, because they were able to make you feel something in such a short amount of time for like all these characters.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it was just
Yep.
crazy how like
Yep.
yeah. And
To
like,
me, that's what I mean when I say I need to be attached to the characters. And you can do
Right.
it throughout the film.
Right.
You don't have to be like, here go all the characters and all the stuff right up front. And then
Mhm.
now, like, no, you can space it out throughout the film, and that's literally what they
Yeah.
did. Because at first, I'm just gonna call him Gilgamesh, because at
Right,
first Gilgamesh was annoying to me a little bit. I was like,
Right.
okay, sir, you real nosy, calm down. And then when it got through to it, I was like, yo, I was like, I need him to survive, and he didn't. So
Yeah.
like, it's just little. I was like, ugh, this is written so well. I was like, this is so good. It's acted well
And
as well.
it's kind of a one location. Most of the like
Kind of.
terrible stuff happens just on the train. And yeah, it's just done the exact opposite way of Feast. Like we just have this one scene with mom and their kid, and like, oh, we're just supposed to be like, oh, okay, obviously we care about her and we care about him.
She loves her,
like,
her child. And
she'll even cover his ears while she gets gets fucked.
Yeah, this is
like, come on.
No facts.
Yeah, where we have this whole like all these people we're caring about.
You know how much I cared about that baby, Sleepy, that wasn't even born yet? I was like, that baby got her, so she has to survive. The baby had to survive. I was like, and she was hawking too, pregnant belly and all. She was out there. She was like, that baby gonna be a track star when that baby come out. That baby gonna be.
Have you guys seen The Mist?
Yes. Well,
I don't remember it. I've seen it. I don't remember it though.
You remember the end?
Nope.
Huge spoiler. Okay, I don't want to say too much. For me, that's got one of the most heart-wrenching ends to a horror film ever.
Right.
And I was worried this film was going to go that direction, and it near did, and didn't. So I didn't get as upset as my wife said she might be watching this. For me, I felt the little girl's pain. She did such a brilliant job. She was the reason that it's heartbreaking at the end. Had the actress not been that good, it wouldn't have been.
She broke me.
Right?
She broke me as somebody who lost her father. And I know you understand this as well, Smitty. Like I just heard the way she was crying out for
holding his sleeve
and holding like she's just like, just don't leave me. Yeah. And it's like him.
But he had no choice. He knew that if he had waited any longer, and he literally waited just the right amount of time. That's the part that got me, though, is when that's the part that's messed
up about that COO. He ruined that little girl's life. He ruined everybody's life. Because he was bitten, he knew it, and he still got on that train.
He didn't know. The way he was shocked when he was told he was infected. He didn't realize it.
He got bit. He knew.
I don't think he did. I think he knew he was a piece of shit. And as soon as he realized he had been bit, as soon as the main character tells him,
I'm surprised he was still lucid enough to be like, no,
really?
no.
He was in a weird change.
Like, it just came back.
But if you look at our main character, got a little of that too, because we got to watch him have his last memory or his first.
But I think it's like as strong as whatever the memory is, probably, or like what you're going through. Because I think he was probably so happy that he was like, I got out. I'm going to survive. And for somebody to tell you that you got infected, and for him, it was hearing his daughter. And for our main character, it was hearing his daughter like scream his name and all kinds of stuff. They kept him just lucid enough. Oh, my heart broke too when the girl got bit and the young guy was holding her. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I was like.
And what do you do? Like, I think I would have laid there with my wife. Like, I would have just held her. Like, honestly,
if it was something like that, I probably would have stayed too. I probably would have just been like, well, I guess we just gonna.
Yeah.
I'll just let you turn me too. Like, what could you do?
Right.
Like.
See, but they didn't.
That boy been through a lot. He watched his. No.
They all turned. What they should have each done is killed themselves, so they didn't have to have each person dealing with them as a zombie, and not just a simple zombie, but like. Holy shit!
But that's easy. But that's easier said than done, though.
I mean, they turn so fast. It's just like,
and they're not all
turn so
weapons.
fast.
That's a fair point.
Right?
Yeah. I'd have kept something on me though. I could have battled something. I don't know. It's just this was a wild film. This was a wild ride. I mean that in a great way. This is what I needed at the end of the last two movies. This is definitely what I needed.
Well, we had to have a really good one to make up for.
No, for sure.
Brian, it sounded like you had more.
Sure.
Oh no, I didn't know.
Oh no. He said you're wrong, Snoop.
You just no.
Nope. Just no.
The effects in this movie are phenomenal. I think how they got a lot of these actors to do some of the things that they did with their bodies was either
that one
CG
boy when the team was coming down the stairs and then they all got turned. That one kid
got up by his head.
He did like a barrel roll and turned around and it got up and I was like,
Yeah, they had to like hire acrobats or something for some of these roles. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
couldn't
totally.
imagine
They-
otherwise.
Contortionists and stuff. Like,
Right.
Yeah, they had to. I was like, this is crazy. But that's like I think that's like some of the funnest things about being a zombie in these like TV shows or movies and stuff like that, is that you can just do weird stuff and people are just chalk it up to like a zombie.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
zombie
zombie.
movement. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, this and
Well,
I
they
like the
have
effects on
classes for
everybody.
zombie
I like
movement
the effects.
because there's so many zombies.
Yeah, they do.
That they'll teach
I
you how
love
to do
it.
it. Because if you just go,
I can't wait.
that's not as good
Right.
anymore. You can't.
That's that old school zombie.
Yeah,
that's
you
the old
can't.
school like
You can't do that.
Frankenstein
anymore.
zombie.
Romero
Yeah.
zombie.
Right?
Yeah.
No room in hell. You know, I'm gonna
Yeah.
scoot after you.
Because I want to know, like, I just need to know, like, from a medical standpoint, right? What these viruses do to these bodies, because essentially, like, it's like a living dead, right? I'm assuming like you're alive, but you're dead because the way that people's bodies move, like their necks are always like half back and like their limbs are very relaxed. Like I'm always curious of like, what did the effect of the virus do to the rest of their body?
Right.
Story,
turn
I
them
think,
into-
is
I'm
what
just
makes
like-
that happen.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
you're right.
you kind
You're
of
right.
do whatever. But
You're
that's why,
right,
like, that's why, like, The Last of Us is so great because they actually have this like really like foundational scientific, like
Did-
plausible thing
Did
that
you
could
guys see
happen. Like,
the guy on TikTok that took
Yeah.
that exact fungi and started
Yeah.
feeding it human?
yeah,
This is not like a thing. This is like a real thing.
yeah, and it's one of those chicken or the egg thing. Like, which one came first? Like, was he already planned on doing this, or was it because of The Last of Us that inspired him to do this? You know,
But
it's
like,
Either
why?
why,
I
I
wish
know, like,
people
what
would
are you
stop
doing,
tempt.
dude? And it
Why
it
relates
only
to-
tempt-
affects ants.
That's
Like,
the
right now,
problem.
Why
insects,
tempt
like,
fate like that? Like, why be like, let's see if I can create a virus that'll kill,
yeah, that'll make us all
everybody
zombies
in the
and-
world. Let's just see what happens.
We have
Why would you
nuclear
even tempt
weapons
that?
in this world, so I've already decided there's plenty of people that would decide
probably
to
the way
try
I'm gonna
that.
go.
Like, it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
some
Yeah.
humans
and that's
are
how
built that way.
honestly, that's
Yeah.
probably how the apocalypse is going to happen. Somebody's going to be way too clever, create
Mhm.
something that becomes like the airborne and goes rapid, very Train to Busan, goes very rapid, and the last resort that America has is to nuke.
Just nuke whatever that.
And that's
town
and
is.
you know,
Yeah.
some people are going to survive, some actual people without the virus are going to survive, and some people and a whole bunch of people with the virus is going to survive, and that's how the apocalypse is going to happen.
So I think it's
Because
I
some
think
people
you're
just
right.
can't
It's gonna
leave
be
well
like
enough alone.
Train to Busan meets 12 Monkeys meets, Day After. Like, it's gonna be
Resident
World War
Evil.
Z, all
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
Resident
Resident Evil,
all in
all that
one.
type of stuff.
And
Yep.
that or
Because I
none of
always
it's
think
gonna
I always
happen,
think about
Right.
which
Yeah,
is
or
gonna
none of
get
it's gonna-
hot.
because I
and
always
get
think
something.
about like these apocalypse like movies, like iZombie and stuff like that. Like, how did these towns get like this? How these buildings get destroyed like this? Like why is everything like dusty and broke down? It ain't because people ain't there to wash the windows. It's because it got bombed in some type of way, like some type of nuclear something went off.
Or
And this is
weather.
what's left.
If you guys saw what happened in
I
Acapulco,
mean,
weather can absolutely
Yeah.
be a huge factor.
But also, but it also depends, right? Like in Michigan, but also when stuff like that happens, it affects the earth, right? So maybe that affects the axis, and maybe that slows the earth from moving the way that it moves. So like sun doesn't shine the way it needs to shine, or like weather doesn't
Nuclear
happen the way
fallout
that it used to
can
happen.
create cold.
True. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
So there's a lot we can screw this planet up pretty good nowadays. We didn't used to be able to. These days we're able. I think that the Train to Busan zombies. That's kind of hard to say actually. It's much more like a rabies type of situation where
That's what it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
it's
Yeah.
like takes over their brain and just makes them want to kill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They still seem dead though, which is weird.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're like not dead. I don't know. Are they dead?
That's why I said living. That's why I said living dead. They gotta be. It has to be like reanimated tissue or something like that. Like because you essentially die, and this virus reanimates you into something that needs to feed.
But there are zombies that
because
aren't
it's like
that, because the 28
Yeah.
days zombies
Yeah.
aren't dead. They're just psychotic.
Yeah, they're not dead. Yeah.
But
And
I mean,
these ones feel like that too, kind of. Like
Yeah, that's
But
what I
it's
was
like
gonna
the-
say too. It
I feel
doesn't
like
seem
it's
like
the
they
zombie
actually
lore.
die. Like, because the transition's so fast, like it doesn't seem like they actually have a time to die and then come back to life.
but it
Or it
can
does seem more
reanimate
like
you
20 days later.
because the deer in the beginning of the movie is reanimated after being totally
Right.
killed.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
true.
It's both.
the
But I feel
humans,
like
like, we don't
that's
see
why I
humans
said. That's
yet.
why I said living dead. But also, I feel like they
Yeah.
do die because, like, are you actually yourself if you're not you? If
I
you
mean,
not, if you don't
that's
have,
the question.
you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the function of like controlling yourself, are you actually you? You know what I mean? Like, all this blood came from your body, but you still can get up and like go bite somebody else. Like, that's why I feel like it's like a living dead type of like they're alive, but like they're actually dead. Like, it's something else.
So their body's
I feel like
alive,
it's the
but
virus.
their soul is dead.
Soul is dead. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
Or their
essentially.
brain is dead.
Or their brain. is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they sure can't see at night. That's kind of cool.
Mhm.
That's not something you normally
I mean,
see.
you
It's
think
always,
about it, and you look at their
smell of
eyes,
zombies, right? So these
And
are
if you
all
look at
eyes.
their eyes already look like they're like glazed over as though they're blind anyway, and like
Right.
they need that light to like in that
Almost
sound
like they just
to
see a
hear.
buzz or something.
Yeah, or something
Yeah,
like that. Because
they
think
also
about
have glaucoma.
and
Yeah.
it's giving glaucoma. It's
Right,
giving
very
glaucoma. And so it's
So
like,
wait, if we
and then
gave
it's like
them
they go by
weed,
sound.
would that help?
Oh yeah.
No, because they wouldn't smoke it. They'll bite your hand off.
Well, you could
That's
give them
true, yeah.
edible weed, like
They
you know,
probably can't.
foo-foo.
They
Yeah,
will
it's probably-
bite your hand off. Who's
probably too
handing
many
it to the
mechanics.
zombie?
Yeah.
Well, you put them in a cage.
They
They
can't
don't
open a
eat.
damn door, let alone
Unless you
smoke
put that
weed.
in a human. unless you let
That's great.
unless you let the COO toke up, and then you throw him to the zombie.
Yeah.
And that
Just
was another
throw
thing
him a
really
too.
long
stoner.
stick.
There you go. Throw
And that
him
was
a
another
stoner.
thing too. He sacrificed the guy. He pushed the guy in where y'all could have just snuck out quietly. You pushed the guy.
Yeah, like that was just
I was like,
so
why would
uncalled
you
for. Like,
even
there was
start?
no reason for that. Like,
Ah,
why would you
my
do that?
gosh.
So,
Yeah.
did you guys pick up on the fact that the filmmakers definitely have thoughts about their government and the way the
Oh,
government?
Oh
takes-
yeah.
You guys are fine. There is no
Yeah.
indication that this is happening. Everybody stay in your homes. You'll be fine.
But I feel like that's government
Mhm.
across the board. That can be American government, Korean government. I feel like that's government across the board. They will not tell you anything.
well, their
Nothing.
government is very deeply based on our government. So that's what's kind of
Yeah.
very interesting.
Makes sense.
That they
Makes sense,
adopted
yeah.
all of our democratic ideals.
But the US government, that's great.
Definitely.
Real study approved.
Yes. Oh,
Wait,
look at the
you're
little
watching.
thumb that popped
I
up.
know.
Somebody
there's
threw a
that.
thumb up. Where did that come from? Well, you did that. How did you do that?
I did it with my hand.
But it's
That's wild.
Not
Why does
doing
it
it
work
for
for you,
me.
but it doesn't work for me?
Oh, I don't know.
Hmm.
Gives
That's
up.
bizarre.
I wonder if it
Wow.
does this. Nope, just the thumb.
Listen, if it did that, if it did this for you, I would have quit. I'd have cut this off.
But why
I'd
is
cut
it
this off
giving you a
immediately.
thumbs up? Are
No,
you
not doing this either?
are you on your
That
phone?
was for Ray. No, I'm on my. Well,
He's a-
I mean, I do have a MacBook, so I don't know if that's
He's
what
a
it is.
wizard.
Because
I
I'm
don't
on a
think
Windows
that'd be a
computer,
wizard.
and I think Law's on a Windows computer.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm on a Windows computer. Yeah,
But no, yeah, that didn't do that either.
Windows.
Yeah, I tried that. That didn't do anything.
But if I do a thumbs up, it doesn't do it. It did a piece. What are you doing over there?
Oh
I don't know.
This has to be Windows. This has to be
no!
Sonoma.
No! Did you see the balloons?
Yeah.
Did you see
Yeah.
the balloons that went up?
What other symbols can you give me? Like
I have no-
an "I love you"
Oh, like
or just
try
devil
this one.
horns? Yeah. The devil pops up behind.
yeah.
Law
No,
blinks.
That's when I really leave. I'm like, oh, I'm
I'm
out.
outta
here.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's weird. So
That's
thumbs
what I really
up,
got.
peace. Now I just feel like we should just sit here for 20 minutes trying to
I
figure out
know,
what
what-
works.
Nadi has an AI webcam. So Kyle said.
What about like just a fist?
Let's see what that is.
No, nothing. That's
Mm.
bizarre though.
It is.
One. It starts counting. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I don't know why it would be balloons with peace, but
They're not even peace balloons. They're just eyes.
Yeah. I don't know what that
They're
was.
like birthday balloons, just regular.
Yeah.
They're like birthday balloons.
I don't
That's
know.
wild.
2, 3.
I'm just like, do you know sign language? Because I'm starting to feel like maybe you should do some signing and see if it.
I know. I don't know sign language. Like,
Well, there's thank you.
yeah.
It's not doing
Nope.
anything.
It's too fast. You
There's-
have to really
there's-
hold it for a while to
there's,
like
mother and
for it to
father.
work.
And it's like a thought bubble too. It's like
Yeah, it
it's like you're
I'm
thinking,
thinking about giving you a thumbs up. But I'm
Thumbs
not
up,
sure.
yeah.
You're literally doing it.
Yeah, at first I thought it was
Ugh,
like something on Twitch or somebody like, but I'm like, no, this is popping
Yeah,
up in
no.
OBS. This is
I'm
not making any sense.
disgusted that you can do this.
I know. I want to do it now too.
How
I'm like,
dare I want to do it too.
I know.
This is
I know. In
terrible.
Zoom, you can do it too. Like
My little
Zoom
thumb didn't
did
do
it.
nothing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
no, it's definitely your Mac.
Aw.
I can't think of anything else that it
Yeah,
would
it
be.
must be Mac.
It has to be the Mac. It has to be.
The Mac,
other
the
movies,
Mac
yeah.
Daddy. No.
Yeah.
Tyler,
I mean,
we need you back.
The Mac Daddy Deacon's out here. You feel me?
Mac Daddy Deacon, the Mac Deacon.
Yeah.
All right, so we should probably rate Train to Busan, and then we can talk
Mhm.
about since Ray's here, we can ask her if she has thoughts on films. So let's go ahead and I'll start with this one. I give this a 9. I think this is a solid flick. This is probably tops for zombie flicks. Like this outdoes pretty much most American zombie flicks, unless you're talking about getting. Wife came in here for a second. Then threw me off. Unless you're talking about
Betsy.
like original Night of the Living Dead, which to me still holds up as one of the best zombie films.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
Really,
Never seen it.
really.
If I'm being honest, there's a lot of horror that I haven't seen, and there's a lot that I have. Like but I don't know it until somebody comes up with a name, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of it. Never seen.
There's
I've
so
heard of a
much
lot of things,
horror
just
out
never seen.
there.
I feel like
Yeah.
a trilogy
A lot
of
of
Romero
horrors.
would be good. Night of the Living
We
Dead.
could do a
Dawn
Romero
of-
trilogy.
Dawn of the Dead and Day of the
Yeah.
Dead are.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
I'm be honest.
Dawn of the Dead is
Romero
so good.
flicks. I've never been in my purview to participate in watching. So
Betsy,
This-
do this. That's what she
yes, well it's official. Then it's official if Batsy says do it. So it's
Now
good.
these, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe these are old enough that Ray can handle them because the effects are, they're kind of like paint blood. It's not,
Yeah.
It's very original.
I don't know. We can always ask Ray, watch the first like 10 minutes and see how she feels. And if not, just be done. Let us know and we'll go from there.
Sure,
We'll be in November then.
Yeah.
that's true.
Movies are movies. All right. Yeah.
And what's nice is we do pick up on horror pretty regularly. I'm not sure if Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead were done with some studio involvement, so we'll have to look into those. Night of the Living Dead is 100%. That's his own baby. It's also copyright free. Anybody can pick up Night of the Living Dead. Do whatever they want with it.
Oh wow.
Well, it's
Interesting.
because it's actually due to an error. So when Romero released the print, somebody cut off the copyright from the end of the film, and it actually didn't have copyright listed on it. And so it's literally public domain. It's because he threw it.
Wow.
So
Do it, Bray.
it's a weird.
See if it works.
It's a weird. Yeah, do the like. Well, that's the millennial heart. Do the millennial heart. Sorry, whatever.
That's what Kyle said. Kyle was like, maybe she's telling Brian to do it.
Did it work? It worked. Oh wow.
Yeah, it worked.
Now what about because the millennial heart is like just
Amazing.
figures. She left. She's like, I don't get this. I don't. Yeah.
It's my witchcraft. Yeah.
Oh, she was saying Brian should. Yeah, she was saying.
Oh,
She knew it happened. She knew it happened.
Yeah.
How does she know?
Wait, how does she know?
It's a conspiracy.
Why is it happening to his but not
Oh, she
ours?
knows.
That's what I don't understand.
Because
My
we
wife's
have a
not- she's
Mac.
not
Because
even
we
like
have
that.
Windows and he has a Mac. Mm.
Yeah.
If you
Whatever way
wave,
to do it.
yeah.
Nope.
What if we,
I'm gonna stop
what
looking
about
stupid on
what about
screen,
like
'cause
a,
nothing
a
happens
gun?
when I do it.
Point a gun. No.
Nope.
Thought maybe it would be like ricochet bullets behind you or something. I don't know.
Or a
Not
squirt gun.
ricochet bullets.
That would
That's
be
funny.
that'd be great. Anyway, so I gave Train to Busan a 9, a thumbs up, whatever you want. Brian, what do you give Train to Busan?
A 9.
A 9.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah,
Blah.
that's great.
I give it a 9.5
Oh,
because it made me weep. It
Mhm.
elicited emotion from me. I mean heavy emotion, and it could be because of what I'm going through with my family and everything right now. I'm like teetering on the side of like emotional,
Mhm.
and and I have been wanting my dad to be here during this time. Obviously, he can't. So, yeah, this one hit like hard. So that's a 9.5. Like I was weeping. Yeah, so 9.5.
Mhm.
so if we can get a lot of weep, it will jump above a 9. Everybody keep that in mind.
I mean,
It
that
will.
usually adds some points for me too. Like if I like
Mhm.
have an emotional reaction like that, that's
Yeah.
strong. Yeah, that's usually it.
I probably would have gave it like just a solid 9, but like the fact that the crying pushed it. I had to put an extra 0.5 on there, because that was, I was weeping.
So I have to
See,
get
that's new.
FaceTime on. I'm not putting my podcast on.
I'm not doing all
tablet.
that.
I'm not buying a Mac for all this. It's just not worth it.
Fine, Brian's special. We get it. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's
He
true.
put that little head tilt. Can't help it. I am
so-
who I am.
So next week we are still going to be doing more indie films, foreign films, whatever we can get our hands on. Still a bunch of A24 films we can go through, some neons, etc. And then I think if we go old enough, some of those movies aren't owned by anybody. So technically anything pre fair use would be wide open because nobody owns those rights. So we could do some silent films.
I don't know how any of this works, so I just look to y'all to tell me.
Well, it's basically, it boils down to if studios own the rights to it and can sell it and make money off of it, it's struck. And those studios are the studios as part of the PTP, and that is a long list of studios, a very long list of studios. I did update that on our Discord. It's not public, but for us, it's there for you guys to look at. All the ones I could find associated, and there are.
I'm
more
just
than
staying
one
away
other
from
thing.
like
Did
the
I not
major
send you guys that
companies
list?
that I know.
If you didn't, you could again, just in case.
I think you did, but I'm not. I
have it
think
on
you
my phone.
did.
It's
But
like 4 or 5
I just try to
pages.
stay away from any like major companies that I like that I know I like, or like, you know, if I know that it's a major company, I'm like, oh, I can watch it on my
Yeah.
own purview, but I can't talk about it. So I kind of stay away from it like that.
Right. Yeah.
I figure
you can
I
always
figure
watch
anything
it,
that's
but-
like on Pluto or Tubi or something.
Well, the thing is,
maybe
there's
you
a
know.
lot of like subsidiaries of companies.
Very
um,
true.
So like there was actually a question of whether or not, which was it? There was one company that was loosely tied to Disney, but it was still up in the air of whether or not it was sold from, so, but they still kept the name, obviously, but, so yeah, so like all the small ones you still have to watch out for, because they might seem like they're independent, but, I mean, like Touchstone was owned by Disney, at one point, and Sony has a bunch of like small companies, like, so.
Well, even like Focus Features is owned by a major
Yeah.
studio, and Focus is an
Yeah.
independent film
Focus
studio.
is owned by
And you have like indie Sony,
Comcast.
right?
Yeah.
So like all the big
Yeah.
companies were like, there's money in art films, and they made all these studios to do
Yeah.
all these smaller
Yeah.
projects.
That's why my brain
For
just
no
like
reason.
explodes at trying to figure out like what to partake in, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to do. Like I just feel very.
That's why it's like A24 and Neon. Are the
Right.
ones,
I
like,
just I
publicly
stay
have-
very stagnant, and I'm just like, just give me a list, you guys. I'll pick something. I don't know. Like,
Weirdly
Yeah.
enough, we haven't seen this in a while, but we are still broadcasting to Twitch like we used to. We're doing it again, and we just had Lady Crossheart and Psycho Punk
Twitch.
show up. We haven't seen them in a long time.
Oh,
I wanna
wow.
say hello
I
to
have
you
though. I
guys.
stream a lot.
You
But
do,
hey,
you
lady.
do, but in
Hey,
the real
Psycho.
study, we haven't seen them for a while. But it's
Yeah.
good to see you
Right.
guys. Thanks
Yes.
for all the spamming of the emotes. That's always a great thing. We love it.
It's
we're
always
just
funny
at
when
the
you
end.
like when you're talking to Twitch, but it still pops up on YouTube, and I just be like, "Who is he talking to?"
Well, I have both. Right. I have both right here.
Because one day you were like, "Hey, Muncie," and I was like, "He is not in the chat," and I was like, "He must be on Twitch."
I know. I'm like,
I was like, "He must be on Twitch."
He is. He is.
Yeah.
He was. I think he still is.
Yeah.
He was the one
Yeah.
that was the one. Yeah. So he's been.
He
been
was the
here.
one that was the one.
Well, we have one person watching on Twitch according to my stats here. We just got done reviewing all 3 of our films for you guys that just got here. It was let's go back through them real quick.
Watching and playback.
It was right. Brotherhood of the Wolf, a French film from 2001. It was Feast, which is a pseudo-independent
2005
film,
film.
2005, and then of course Train to Busan. So yeah, we suggest watching Train to Busan. You can avoid the middle one, Brotherhood of the Wolf. It depends on your taste in film. Is the way I
Yeah.
think we would look at it.
I say ignore them all, but Train to Busan. But that's just me.
If you like weird action flicks from the early 2000s, I think Brotherhood of the Wolf is worth watching. So, oh wow, I haven't seen those emotes in forever. The I love movies, the little Mr. Pickle, Nightmare Fuel, stuff. All the real study emotes
the
are
ones on
there.
Twitch.
I totally
Yeah.
forgot about all those. So, anyway, Ray will be here. I'm not sure if she's still here to answer that question. I'm hoping that she will be here next week.
I think she is.
And we had
I think she's
originally
still here.
talked about doing like Marcel the Shell. I think it's time for us to do something maybe a little bit more lighthearted, get away from some of
Please.
this horror.
Please.
So Marcel the Shell, but Marcel, if you're the right person, will make you bawl your eyes out too. So just keep that in mind.
I'm cool with that too,
super
but at least
cute.
it's like fun and lighthearted. Like that's cool too.
It is, but it's thematically
it's
pretty
great.
deep, which is
Yeah.
We
great.
need to do some more like animations, man. I gotta find some non-struck animations.
Now,
to do.
most
That's gonna be very
animation is
hard.
not struck. I thought animation was its own.
Is
thing.
it? Is it?
No.
It's not.
No, it
I
can't
thought
be
was its
because if
own
I
Not
thing.
the case. No. If
I was
it,
about to say it can't
it's
be.
like no,
if it's
if
Disney,
part of any,
nah. Like
any
if it's
distribution company that's on
if
the
it's
AMC,
if it's
AMC
on
TV,
Max, if it's an animation on Max, that ain't gonna do. You know what I
Right,
mean?
it
Like I was
doesn't.
like, no. I was like, no.
Good point.
It gotta
DC.
be. I gotta figure out what it is. I gotta figure it out. Figure out stuff.
So it looks like we'll be doing some more A24. We're gonna get through their library at this rate, right?
No thanks.
So yeah, so one of the list of films.
I guess
that we
it
had-
depends on if there's a deal made.
Right. If there's a
True.
deal made this week and everything kind of goes back to normal, we'll probably be doing Terminator flicks because that was an early discussion for Ray. He wanted us
on
to
the
do
back
Terminator.
burner, yeah.
Oh,
films.
Terminator.
The Terminator saga, if you will.
She's
I'm
free.
here for
She's
it.
free.
Nice.
I'm
so
here
she's
for
free.
it.
So otherwise, I think that we had a couple of movies picked. We can always discuss these further, but we were talking about Lady Bird, The Whale, and Marcel the Shell as a good kind of triple.
The
bind.
Whale broke my heart a little bit.
I haven't seen that one yet, but you haven't seen Marcel, so that's like perfect.
No, so that works.
And Brian's
Yeah.
like, I've seen all these.
I've seen all three.
Oh, see, like I said, he's perfect, you guys.
He does more hearts.
It works.
Oh, look at those hearts. She's so mad. Anyway, so
That's what I was saying.
we don't know the exact movies yet, but we will, of course, release that information probably the next day or two. Yes, you did hear Terminator, but we aren't going to go further into that until the strike.
Yeah.
If you like indie films, keep tuning into The Real Study. That said, this has been
We
week
should have watched that
3.
Winnie the Pooh movie.
The Winnie the Pooh horror movie?
The horror
Yeah,
one.
that's what we should have
Yeah.
watched. Yeah, we should have watched that one. But honey,
I did watch that video game movie that's a horror movie that just got released on Peacock.
Oh, Friday, like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah,
If you're
everybody's
if
been
you're-
watching that, man.
If you're
like crazy.
11 and you want to get into horror, watch that movie.
That's hilarious.
I don't mean that in a negative way.
That's a
It's
hilarious.
just not for
Right.
me.
That's funny.
It's a good gateway horror film.
Totally good gateway horror
from
film.
What I hear. Yeah.
I love that so much. It's going to make me watch it more. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but watch it with that in mind, and it's.
I
worth
love
watching,
that.
so. It's got Josh Hutcherson.
Should I be a little?
Josh Hutcherson comes out as like an adult in this movie. Like what?
But also, he still looks 12.
He does.
So,
I was like, why didn't they just use
just
cutscenes
with-
from him when he was a kid in movies? Just
right,
put
just
it
with
in.
stubble.
Yeah.
He's 12 with stubble. I said, this boy don't age. I said, he found the fountain of youth. I said, okay.
He'll do what
Yeah.
Leo did. Leo DiCaprio didn't look like the modern Leo DiCaprio until he was like 35. Like we had to wait
Yeah.
till he was much older
he had to
before he dropped the boy.
He had to
Yeah,
get
whereas
chunky.
he
He had to
started
get
aging.
chunky.
Right.
Actually, if I'm being totally honest, even though he only likes people that are like 18
Or
or whatever,
Like,
you know, he likes children, it seems. I will say this: I prefer a chunky Leo than a skinny Leo. I like chunky Leo, so that's just
Skinny Leo cried more. I'm just gonna say that was
Yeah.
his go-to.
honestly skinny Leo did more like hard hitting, like
emotional.
like you know, emotional like type of things. Even though he played his part in that Scorsese film. Scorsese, I'm sorry, Scorsese.
You're
film.
talking about Wolf of Wall Street? Because he's been in so
The
many
newest one.
Scorsese films. So which one are you talking about?
Oh, like the most
Right.
recent, The Killers in the Flower Moon. That
I
one.
haven't seen that one yet. I need to watch.
Yeah. The moment when I went to the theaters, I just have to say this: when I went to the theaters to see this, Scorsese pops up first, and he's like, "I just want to thank everybody for coming to the movies and seeing my film." And I was just like, "Okay." It's like you didn't have to do this. But the moment I didn't know, mind you, I didn't know it was a Scorsese
That's kind
film.
of the thing.
My friend
like,
was just
a lot of
like,
people were doing
come
that.
see it. He was like, just come see it with me. And I was like, okay. I didn't know it was a Scorsese film. But when I saw him pop up, I was like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro got to be in this. I was like,
You didn't know anything about this movie?
I didn't know anything about this film.
Oh my God, how?
I don't know anything.
Because I don't
about
have
it.
like, because I don't
What?
like, I don't, because I don't go research like movies anymore. I don't go look into movies anymore. I don't have like, I don't have cable and stuff. I watch everything like on streaming or like YouTube. I don't have any commercials, so I don't
Are you
get to
guys, like-
see any of this
Wow.
stuff.
So I'm tapped
So-
in, but I'm tapped in 3 months behind you guys on purpose.
No, facts. Me too. Like I'm tapped in, but like now I'm about to go research the mess out of these people because like that movie was wild. But when I saw him pop up on the thing,
Based on
I
a
was like,
book.
Leo. I said Leo and Robert De Niro in this film. And then when the
So-
movie started, I was like Leo and Robert.
You can
De
see
Niro. I was like,
if you watch
"Lord."
Scorsese's films, you can see why he gravitated towards Leo because he was looking for somebody with that same kind of dynamic and energy that De Niro had in his younger films. When you're looking at Taxi Driver or you're looking at Raging Bull. Now, I'm not saying they act the same because they don't. That's not what I mean. But they bring this dedication and energy to their characters, and I think Scorsese sees that in those two actors. So I agree with you. But if you haven't
feel
seen
like
early
Leo could
Scorsese,
be
it's
a-
worth watching. His early stuff.
I feel like Leo could be like a I'm just call him Marty at this point. It could be like Marty's answer to like Robert De Niro. I feel like he wants another Robert De Niro, like you said, essentially. And I feel like he sees that in Leo because Leo played his part in this movie. I wasn't even mad at him. I said, "Oof." I said, "Good job, boy. I'm proud of you." I was like, "Look at Gilbert Grape." I said, "Come on, Gilbert." I said, that boy can act. He a little
He-
weird.
Weird thing.
Yeah,
The weird thing is, too, that character is supposed to be like in his 20s.
really.
Yeah, at the time of when that happened. So
But I do
there's
like
a
that
bit
they
of an
didn't
age
put the dates.
difference.
That
But
is
I do
weird.
like that they don't put dates in this film. I had no clue what was happening, like what time period it was. I was like, this got to be like late 1800s, early 19s, and I was like, or somewhere
Well,
in
they
there.
show
But I
they
never saw a
show
date.
they show the Tulsa massacre,
Yeah, I
That'll
saw
tell you
that
it's
in,
the
the,
20.
in there.
so that tells you the era that it's in.
Yeah,
too,
I wasn't
but-
even paying attention to that. I was just like, I
Yeah.
didn't see no dates. I really didn't. I was like, I like that they showed that, but I didn't see no dates. So I was just like, I like that I'm not getting bogged down about seeing a little date in the corner, and like
Mhm.
that's where my brain goes. I just was able to like fully and like be in the film in itself. So
I'm with you. Movies that say present day, and then I'm like, but that's an 82 Buick. I'm not quite sure how this
It'll throw me
works
off.
out. Just don't say it. There's no reason.
I'm
to
like,
say it.
what present day? Because present day for me is 2023.
Right.
If we go in present, so like I like that I didn't have any of that. I was just able to just be in the film. That film was wild though. It's gonna
Well,
make me.
I'm
do
gonna
some
go
research
look
and
at it
stuff.
to see
Yeah.
if I'll probably watch it just because I'm
Yeah.
and watch
Yeah.
most of the big directors' films. But that being said,
Yeah.
tune into us next week. We're gonna have everybody should be on the panel next week. Should be a full 5, and we will be discussing not horror films because we'll be fully into
Not
fall.
with his grandkids. That's
and
hilarious.
and there we go. So yeah, thanks for joining in.
Thanks for joining, guys. And
Bye, guys.
did you close out already? Yep. You
No,
did. Never
no,
mind. I see his face.
No,
Oh no. Okay. As always, guys, please follow us on all social media. Get your people to come through and check us out. Rewatch videos of like past stuff. Just get that algorithm moving. And just join us on Discord. Put out the TV shows and movies that you would like us to watch. If they're not struck, if they are struck, we'll get to them eventually. Hopefully,
we'll put them on a list.
yeah, we'll put them on the list
Yeah.
for sure. And as always, thanks for joining us and just being here and chatting and all that jazz. We appreciate it always. And that goes out to the Twitch people too, who sees us on Twitch in playback or however it is. Thank you for being here as well.
Bye, guys.